Hello, welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. 7:00 p.m. IM. Chapter 121. Previous chapter. Next chapter. First of all, thank book friends in advance. I believe that book friends have seen a lot of testimonials on shelves, at least not less than me. I guess everyone can guess what I want to say. Tell me something you are unlikely to know. 5 changes on the first day of the release, there are still 8 chapters left, so I think I should leave other aspects to be updated. If the results are okay, we will update them together. In fact, I still have 13 numbers in my mind as to how many achievements can be made. The reason for agreeing to be put on the shelves hastily on the first has already been prepared for full attendance. 10,000 rewards, this is not recommended, my book is only worth subscription. Subscription is the greatest support. Definitely, if there is an ability book friend to give a reward, it will naturally not refuse. A monthly pass is more than 50. Subscribe to 500 more. Finally, the rich hold a money market. Those who don't have any money will take part in it. Please support the first order. I always listen to others saying that the first order is important. In fact, I don't understand it. I guess I can get the recommendation of the editor in charge. After I have finished speaking, who agrees and who opposes? Chapter 122 Chapter 119 Open black lens bracket white queen close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Wolverine turned to look at the enemy behind him, who was approaching him. Moreover, several enemies surrounded him. Wolverine dashed forward and rushed into several enemies. The sharp steel claws slashed through, and several guys screamed and lost their lives. Whoosh! A few more steel bars flew over, and Wolverine turned and walked towards the man just now. Whoosh! Countless sharp steel bars flew towards Wolverine. Clang clang. Mars splashes. Wolverine blocked the steel bar thrown by the big man with his claws, and then he rushed towards the big man. 2 sharp steel bars appeared in the big man's hand, and he rushed towards Wolverine. Ah! Wolverine roared and jumped up, piercing the man's chest with sharp steel claws. And the sharp steel bar of the big man also pierced Wolverine's abdomen, and Wolverine snorted and pulled out the steel bar in pain. He walked towards the mutant camp ahead. A large number of mutants were gathering there, and fierce shouts rang out. Mutant brothers, humans want to heal us. But I tell you, we are the therapeutic agent, treating the weak and incompetent humans. On the hill, Magneto's speech caused the mutants below to erupt fiercely. Wolverine picked up a long cloth next to her and wrapped her head, taking the opportunity to get in. Humans have human weapons, and we also have ours. Magneto looked at Jean Grey next to him. We will attack this world with a force of anger that has never been seen before. As soon as Magneto's voice fell, there was another deafening shout below. If there is any mutant blocking us, we will use the poison developed by humans to deal with them. Now, we are attacking Devil Island. Control the therapeutic agent and destroy its source. After that we will be unstoppable. Then, a violent shout sounded. Advertisement. At this time, Jean Grey, standing on the hill, found Wolverine. She left the hill, and Wolverine chased in her direction. Magneto on the hill looked at Wolverine's back. Unexpectedly this guy chased it here. Jin. In the distance, Wolverine stopped Shin. As soon as the voice fell, Wolverine flew out suddenly, hit a tree heavily, and was firmly fixed. I can smell your stinky steel all over the way. Magneto walked out. I'm not here to fight with you. Wolverine said. Smart boy. I'm here for the piano. Do you think she didn't stay here voluntarily? Magneto asked. With a wave of his hand, Wolverine slowly moved towards him in the air. She is here because she wants to. You don't know what you are facing. Wolverine said. I know, I have seen how she deals with Charles. Magneto said. And you just watched him die. Wolverine said angrily. I wouldn't leave without her. It's up to you. Magneto pushed forward with his arm and Wolverine flew out behind him. Manhattan. Over the past few months, it has gradually regained its popularity. Li Wei looked at the address on the invitation of Hellfire Club and the appointed time, and came to a bar called Hellfire, on the street. However, the business of this bar is not very good, and there are no figures. When Li Wei walked into the bar, a man suddenly appeared from the front desk of the bar and said, Are there any invitations? Yes. Li Wei raised the invitation. Follow me. The man silently led Li Wei to a spacious conference room. After bringing Li Wei to the meeting room, the man walked out. Welcome, Bald Cape Man. There were 2 other people in the meeting, one of them was a man dressed in punk style. The other is a sexy woman. The woman wore only simple clothes and a white silk scarf to reveal her perfect body. Li Wei appeared as a bald man in a cloak. He didn't know whether this group knew his disguised identity. Advertisement. Are you the White Queen? Li Wei asked. He definitely knows White Queen, and he is also more famous in the world of X-Mutant. Although because of the timeline, Li Wei doesn't know if the current White Queen is the same as in the movie. But whether it is White Queen in the movie or White Queen in the comics, her ability has not changed. White Queen is a spiritual ability, not inferior to Qin Gray. Like Qin Jie Lei, she can read the thinking and memory of others, and can also forcefully modify the memory of the other person, control their thinking, and perform mental shielding to connect the thinking of multiple people. Among all the ability mutants of the mind, her ability is only Professor X. Now that Professor X is killed by Phoenix Force, then she and Jean Grey are the most powerful spiritual abilities in the world. In addition, another ability of White Queen is the diamondization of the whole body. In the form of a diamond, her body is almost invulnerable, and she can withstand the blow of great power. And you won't feel tired, and you don't need water and food. Even in the diamond form, he can be immune to the mental attacks of other mental abilities. In the movie, the young Professor X is helpless against her defense in the diamond form. In the movie, Professor X was about the same age as White Queen when he was young. But the White Queen in front of me is very young, at most in her 30s. It seems that the mutant time here is completely different from that in the movie. In the comics, White Queen has also joined X-Men and is one of the important members. Yes, I am. The sexy woman nodded. Presumably you have seen our invitation too. I wonder if you know our Hellfire Club. White Queen asked. It's okay, get to know some. Li Wei said. An apple appeared out of thin air in his hand. Li Wei took a bite of the apple and said, I heard that your organization is very strict in selecting members. Definitely, our Hellfire Club is a huge organization all over the world. Its members are either wealthy nations or people who have climbed to the pinnacle of power, or some of the world's top nobles, or some powerful leaders and powerful transcendents. People. White Queen said. Then why did you find me? Li Wei asked. As I said, you meet one of the above conditions. White Queen said. Advertisement. If I join in, what benefits can I get? Share the resources of our organization. I know you are the leader of the Heroes Association. If you join us, we can provide you with resources you can't imagine, so that the Heroes Association will quickly become a large organization all over the world. After eating the apples, Li Wei took out a game console and fluttered his fingers. To get such benefits, what is my duty? White Queen didn't say anything about Li Wei's rude behavior, but the eyes of the punk man beside her burned with rage. No one has ever dared to treat Hellfire Club like this. Obligation. Actually, it's not an obligation. Like what I said just now, you can get more resources if you join in. These resources are shared by other members. As a feedback, if other members need it, our members will also provide them with convenience. White Queen said. Understand what you mean, you should have investigated me before inviting me. Li Wei said. Definitely, we have to know if you are eligible to join us. Now, I'm sure, you are qualified. White Queen said. Then you haven't investigated it clearly, do I just want to be a hero? Li Wei changed his tricks and took out a watermelon, smashed it and took a bite of the flesh. So, do you choose to join or refuse? White Queen's sexy lips raised slightly. I'll join. Li Wei said. Then, you are welcome to join. There should be no welcome ceremony or something. It's lunch time, I have to go to dinner. I'll leave first. If there is a need for me, don't be polite. Despite the instructions, I will definitely help. After speaking, Li Wei got up and left the meeting room with a smile. This guy is more arrogant than me. The punk man said. He is not an ordinary person. It is strange that I can't get into his thoughts. Moreover, this person is far stronger than you think. Powerful, mysterious man. White Queen said with interest. Chapter 123 Chapter 120 The war has started. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Westchester County. Xavier Genius Youth School. Storm. Wolverine brutally opened the door and walked into the school. What's the matter? Storm replied from the hallway upstairs. I need help. Wolverine said. Did you find the piano? Storm asked. Yes, she is with Magneto. Where are they? I know where they are going, Devil Island. Wolverine said. Did you see Magneto? At this moment, Hank walked over. Yes, they are going to attack Devil Island. Wolverine said, we have to go. There is an army on the island. Hank said. That's not enough to stop them. ... If Magneto gets the antidote, then he is really invincible. After dressing, the X-Men members gathered in the corridor. Wolverine Logan, Storm Orlo Monroe, Gambit Remy, Beast Hank. How many of them are there? Hank asked. An army, plus a piano. Wolverine said, and we have only 4 people. We have more than 4 people. At this moment, 6 people appeared in the corridor. X-Men Junior Team, Iceman Bobby, Elf Megan, Ruksha Girl Mary, Shadowcat Katie, Angel Warren, Colossus Pio. Yes, weak. Wolverine looked at them. I won't lie to you, we lost Scott, we lost the professor. Once you give up, all of this will go with them. I don't plan to let this happen, how about you? Advertisement. The young X-Men shook their heads. Then we will work together to overcome the difficulties. X-Men, all of us. Set off. Everyone got on the fighter plane and disappeared into the distant sky. At the same time, Magneto's attack began, and he took the army and Shin to a suspension bridge about several kilometers long. Worthing Lab is the beginning and the end. Are you sure the kid is there? Magneto asked. 100% sure. His men replied. How do we get to that island? I can't swim, said Juggernaut next to him. Leave it to me. Magneto led the army onto the suspension bridge. Under his ability, the entire suspension bridge began to tremble, causing countless cars on it to collide. Oh my god, what happened? What happened? There is an earthquake, run away. Suddenly, there was a mess on the bridge. The ordinary people above were panicked like a headless fly. Magneto walked forward quickly, and under his control, the entire suspension bridge began to levitate, and the front end of it levitated towards the small island in the center of the sea. My god. The soldiers on the island were stunned. Boom. Magneto put down the suspension bridge, a deafening roar sounded, and the suspension bridge smashed onto the island. The kid is in a corner in the southeast. Magneto's men said. Great. Attack. With the shout of Burning Man, countless mutants began to attack the island. Ready to fight. The army guarding the island also rushed out. Advertisement. Humans and their guns. Magneto mocked with disdain. As long as he thought of them, all these weapons would be useless. But to Magneto's surprise, he failed. It seems that anthropologists have been obedient, these guns are plastic. Magneto said. Boom boom boom. The antidote healers shot out from the guns. Mutant hit by these healers fell to the ground and wailed. The mutant ability was cured almost instantaneously. Wizard girl, use your wave to destroy human weapons. Magneto looked at one of his men behind him. This man nodded. He took a step forward, slapped his palms together, and waved away, and the weapons of these human soldiers were instantly destroyed. Without the healing agent as a weapon, these humans, who are mutants' opponents, have died tragically under mutants' hands. At this time, the sky buzzed, and a fighter plane was parked on the roof. Come here, everyone, hold the line. Wolverine shouted. All the X-Men stepped off the fighters and appeared in front of the Mutant Legion. Wolverine Logan, Storm Orlo Monroe, Gambit Remy, Beast Hank. Junior Team. Iceman Bobby, Elf Megan, Ruksha Girl Mary, Shadowcat Katie, Angel Warren, Colossus Pio. Traitors who think they represent justice, Magneto said. Resolve them. Suddenly, the roar was endless, and countless mutant rushed towards the weak X-Men. Boom. At this moment, there was a big explosion in the Mutant Legion, and a piece of mutant died in the explosion. Heroes Association, here, join the war. 4 figures stand on top of the building. Spider-Man, Dianguang Man, Sandman, Li Wei. We pretend to be 13, are we really okay? Li Wei looked at the 3 of them. The 3 obviously didn't know what Li Wei was talking about. Exaggerated group of guys. Wolverine rushed out in the first place. The cold light flickered, and the sharp steel claws slashed through the air, killing each mutant one by one. Roar. Beast Hank roared and rushed towards the crowd. With great strength, he directly lifted a mutant and threw it away. In addition to being extremely powerful, Beast Hank was extremely flexible, and mutant was hit by him one by one. Crack. Storm hovered in the air, and the sound of lightning thundered in the sky. The gust of wind roar howled, lightning bolts and bolts, each mutant howled and was knocked to the ground. Advertisement. At this time, a figure flickered. A fast-moving mutant of the enemy appeared at the top of the house, rushed towards Storm, and the two fell to the ground together. Storm reacted extremely fast, and she stood up in an instant. But the figure flashed, and the female mutant appeared in front of her and punched her in the cheek. Storm fists forward, his figure flickers, and the mutant disappears again. Intuitively telling Storm that the enemy is behind her, she immediately turned around, and this mutant was indeed behind her. But her reaction was still a step slower. The mutant kicked her and Storm stepped back. The figure flickered, and the enemy appeared behind her again, punching her in the head. Almost a time roar sucked. Storm has been attacked countless times by the enemy mutant. The figure flickered. Storm saw the opportunity. His arm swept out, knocking the enemy mutant to the ground. When it appeared again, it was behind her. Roar roar. On the other side, Roar roared with cold air. A large amount of ice slag spurted from Iceman's hand, and several mutants in front were instantly frozen. Colossus dashed forward, his fist rushed out, and the frozen people were smashed into pieces by him. With a roar, a mutant leapt from the sky. I'm Colossus. Colossus shouted, letting the flying mutant hit him. With a clam, Colossus remained motionless. The enemy mutant was shocked, and was knocked to the ground by Colossus when he tried to escape. At this time, there was a roar, and countless mutants surrounded Colossus. Shoo! Suddenly, a few rays of light flickered and an explosion sounded, sending several mutants flying out. You have a lot to learn, boys. Gambit appeared behind Colossus. Several cards appeared in his hand and threw them at the enemy mutant. The moment the cards came into contact with the enemy, they exploded, and mutant screamed and wailed. Chapter 124 Chapter 121. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Your lightning is useless to me. The battle between Storm and the enemy mutant is still going on. She summons the lightning in the sky to cast a spell for too long, and she can't help the enemy mutant. Crack. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning bolted down directly through the body of the enemy mutant. Hiss. Electric lights flickered, and Max's figure was suspended in the air. Electric lights burst out of his pupils, and bolts of lightning shot out from his body, filling the battlefield with a scream, and mutants were penetrated through his chest. Max flew down. He was a little interested in the woman who summoned thunder and lightning. Ah! Several mutant roared and charged up. Don't bother me. Max waved his hand. Several electric lights flickered, and several mutants were instantly penetrated through his chest. Pay attention to the defensive line. Wolverine roared. The number of mutants in the Magneto Legion was too large, and they were so densely packed that they quickly broke up their formation. Wolverine dashed forward, the cold light flickered, and the sharp claws slashed at the enemy. One by one mutant fell under his sharp claws. At this moment, a mutant rushed towards him. Wolverine's sharp claws easily chopped off the enemy's attacking arm, but this guy's arm grew out in an instant and punched Wolverine on the front door. The enemy mutant fists attacked Wolverine again, and the sharp claws slashed through. Wolverine easily cut off the enemy's arm. Boom! The enemy mutant's arm grew again in an instant and punched Wolverine on the head. Come on, the enemy mutant said arrogantly. Advertisement. Wolverine disdainfully kicked the mutant's lower body. Wolverine's whole body bones are adamantium. This foot is uncomfortable, a dull voice sounded. Wolverine clearly felt something exploded. This mutant basically can't be there anymore. Grow that thing back too. Wolverine said, looking at mutant who fell on the ground and howled. Far away. Magneto and a few confidants stand here. Go and find that boy. Magneto said to the burly figure beside him. Happy to help. The burly figure rushed forward. Boom boom boom. As the burly figure ran wildly, the ground shook. Whether it was an enemy or a friend, they were all knocked out violently by this big guy. Juggernaut. This guy looks hard to deal with. Iceman and Colossus next to him said. Use your ice to freeze him, and I will smash him with one punch. Colossus said. He was confident in his defense and strength. Okay. Iceman stepped forward, and a lot of cold air blasted from his hand towards Juggernaut. Boom. Although Juggernaut was cumbersome, he was extremely fast, and he had come close to Iceman during his rush, and he flew Iceman more than 10 meters away with a punch. Good fellow. Colossus stood still and punched Juggernaut. Dang Kang. Without any accident, Colossus was shot and flew out. Beast Hank jumped to the guard tower and flew towards Juggernaut. Stop. Hank sat down on Juggernaut's shoulder, hitting Juggernaut with his fist. Juggernaut grabbed Hank's arm and threw it forward. Beast Hank smashed directly into the building tens of meters away. Advertisement. It's this guy again. Wolverine rushed to Juggernaut. He fought Juggernaut once, and he naturally knew how good this guy was. I'm Juggernaut. Juggernaut roared, without directly attacking Wolverine, so he rushed away unreasonably and directly knocked Wolverine out. Stop him. At this time, a group of human soldiers surrounded Juggernaut, but they were Juggernaut's opponents, and they were knocked into flight. Even some of the more unlucky soldiers were trampled into flesh by Juggernaut. At this time, a bald head appeared in front of Juggernaut. Juggernaut roared, rushed forward, and hit the figure with a punch. Boom. Li Wei stretched out his hand to block. A mighty force of terror surged. 10 times more violent than the power of Mount Tai. In an instant, the ground exploded and Li Wei's body was straight, and his entire calf plunged under the surface. With Li Wei as the center, dense cracks like spider webs appeared in the surrounding area of more than 10 meters. Good guys. The power of terror. Li Wei looked up at this guy. He naturally knew this powerful mutant, Juggernaut. In fact, this guy is not mutant. His power comes from the magic power of the evil god Satorik in the Crimson Universe. Satolik, the master of the Crimson Universe. The realm is outside the multi-universe. In its realm, Satolik is omnipotent. This evil god is also Marvel's most powerful demon, far beyond the 5 creation gods of the universe. The evil god Satorik himself possesses a ruby with infinite magic power. Anyone who touches this ruby can become a Juggernaut with unmatched power. Juggernaut's power can rival the invincible Hulk, and its collision ability can destroy the building. The flesh is almost indestructible and can even resist Thor's Mjolnir. Even Wolverine's sharp adamantium claws can't hurt Juggernaut. Advertisement. When Juggernaut's body started to activate, nothing could stop him. This is a formidable opponent, which is why Li Wei appeared. Originally, he thought that only the piano incarnation of Phoenix Force would be more interesting, but unexpectedly found a Juggernaut. Juggernaut naturally knew his own power, but this weak human actually blocked his attack. He couldn't believe it. I'm Juggernaut. Juggernaut fist again violently slammed the bald head in front of him, and he wanted to smash this guy into mud. Li Wei stretched out his hand to block again, the ground exploded and rubble splashed, but Li Wei remained motionless. It actually blocked my full punch. Juggernaut was shocked. You are very strong, Li Wei said seriously. Juggernaut rage. With bloodshot eyes, he took a step back, his body was ready to go, and his fist hit Li Wei severely. Li Wei also punched. A violent sonic boom sounded, and two fists, one large and one small, collided in the air. Boom. With a roar, the ground on which Li Wei was standing exploded, rubble splashed, and the white cloak was flying in the air. And Juggernaut's burly body turned into a cannonball and rushed out behind him, knocking out countless mutants. Boom 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 boom. Juggernaut hit the ground fiercely, and after hitting out more than 100 meters, his huge body rolled over to Magneto's feet. Magneto and some of his confidants were shocked, they knew the horror of this guy very well. It can be said that in the Magneto camp, no one can block Juggernaut except the piano, not even Magneto himself. Who drove the terrifying guy Juggernaut into the air? Who can have such power? Chapter 125 Chapter 122 Open black lens bracket 1 punch and Phoenix Force close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Juggernaut got up from the ground embarrassedly, blood pouring out of his mouth. He looked at his trembling arm, his skin burst and blood stained his arm red. Roar. Juggernaut roared, his eyes red, and he rushed towards Li Wei again. He has never been injured since he got this power. With the lessons learned last time, no one dared to stand in front of Juggernaut again this time. Juggernaut quickly rushed to Li Wei. Without any pause, he bombarded Li Wei with a punch. If this terrifying guy gets kinetic energy, no one can stop him. The power rushing from hundreds of meters is extremely terrifying. Li Wei was also surprised that Juggernaut could still get up with a punch, but he was more excited than he was surprised. Li Wei stretched out his hand to block, a violent force surged from his arm, and with a boom, Li Wei slammed out behind him like a cannonball, smashed into the building, and then penetrated again. Boom boom boom. Li Wei's toe was a little on the ground, and after several consecutive times, Juggernaut's terrifying power was removed. Boom. The walls of the building collapsed and Juggernaut appeared under the building. Boom boom boom. Juggernaut ran towards Li Wei again, and the ground shook violently. Roar. Juggernaut roared, his muscles exploded, his arm meridians spread and bulged, and his fist struck Li Wei fiercely. Li Wei took a half step backward, his fists raised, and he bombed out. Ordinary boxing. The next moment, blood spattered, and Juggernaut's arm burst open. The violent fist wind bombarded Juggernaut's body, and his burly body instantly exploded, and his flesh and blood splashed to the ground. Advertisement. Boom. The remaining fist wind blasted a big hole into the rear building. Boom. A sand giant about tens of meters high appeared in the mutant battle center. The sand giant fist bombed away, and immediately countless mutants were smashed into flesh. Get into the desert. The sand giant's body broke into sand, forming a surging sand wave to cover the mutant army. Sandman emerged from the desert. He clenched his fists, and the desert suddenly closed, and the terrifying pressure produced instantly took countless mutants away from their lives. A large amount of sand gathered on Sandman again, and he turned into a huge amounts of sand giant walking towards Magneto, bombarding him with his fists. Magneto waved his hand, and the steel beside him floated and twisted together to form a giant steel drill inserted into the chest of the sand giant. The sand giant moved forward again, his fists bombarded. Interesting ability, Magneto said. As soon as the voice fell, the steel plates on both sides slapped the sand giant, and instantly slapped the sand giant. The sand was full, and the sand giant turned into a gust of sand. Roar screamed past, reunited in Magneto's surprised look, and then smashed it with a punch. Boom. Magneto waved, and the sand giant's fist hit a steel plate. The fire man beside him stepped forward, and the flame in his hand turned into a fire dragon under his control and swallowed the sand giant. Under the high temperature, the sand giant found that his body began to become stiff. Bang! Magneto raised his hand and slapped the steel plate on the sand giant, instantly smashing the sand giant. It's time to end this war. Magneto said. Under his control, Cars flew to the battlefield, and under the blessing of the burning flame, they turned into fireballs and attacked the X-Men. Boom. These huge amounts of fireballs do not distinguish between enemy and me. A large number of mutant died under the fireball, and the screams were endless. Boom. The flame car slammed down and flew Wolverine out. Wolverine got up from the ground and hid in a corner. He saw the antidote reagent scattered on the ground. Advertisement. We need teamwork. Wolverine looked at Beast Hank, who was also hiding from the side. Hank nodded. He knew what Wolverine wanted to do. Attacking is the best defense, Storm said. Storm, I need cover. Wolverine said to Storm. Okay. Storm nodded, and he looked into the air. His pupils widened, and a lot of mist began to diffuse. Bobby, can you handle your old friend? Wolverine looked at Bobby, who was once a classmate and friend of Iceman Bobby. Iceman nodded, and he walked out. At this time, a ball of fire bombarded the sky. Iceman's hands were covered with scum. He waved forward, and a lot of cold air rushed towards the fireball. Under the impact of the cold, the fireball in the sky turned into a mass of ice and fell down. Seeing this, Magneto looked at the burning man behind him. Go, he is yours. The fireman nodded and rushed towards Iceman. Ah! The burning man shouted, and the flame in his hand soared, turning into a fire dragon and swallowing it towards Iceman. Iceman stepped forward, a large amount of cold air ejected from his hand, colliding with the fire dragon. The flame became more and more violent, and the fireman stepped towards Iceman Bobby, and the fierce flame suppressed Iceman. Iceman knelt on the ground, and the flames of the burning man enveloped him and burned his body. Bobby, your ability is terrible. You should go back to school. Burning Man said, and under his control, the flames grew fiercer. You shouldn't have left the school. Iceman's whole body froze into ice. He held the fireman's hands with both hands, and the cold air instantly froze the fireman's hands. Advertisement. Boom. Iceman slammed the burning man's head, knocking him to the ground. With the help of Iceman, Wolverine flew towards Magneto. But how can Wolverine, full of steel, approach Magneto? Under Magneto's control, Wolverine fell to the ground. You will never learn, you will never defeat me. Under Magneto's control, Wolverine was suspended. Actually, I learned, Wolverine said. As the voice fell, Beast Hank jumped from behind, and the antidote was inserted into Magneto's body. No, Magneto said tremblingly, and he fell to the ground. His power disappeared, everything disappeared. Jin, this is their conspiracy. Magneto crawled towards Chin Gray behind him. Jin, everything is over. Wolverine looked at Chin Gray. But not afraid of opponents like gods, but teammates like pigs. The human army who rushed to support appeared behind Chin without any hesitation. Under the order of their commander, they opened fire. Whoosh! Countless antidote reagents shot at Chin Gray. No! Wolverine shouted, but it was still too late. Facing the threat, the Phoenix personality controlled Chin Jailei's body for an instant, and countless antidote reagents were suspended in the air. Under Chin Jailei's thought, these antidote reagents were shattered. Afterwards, the soldiers who appeared screamed, their bodies shattered and floated in the air. Chin Jailei was suspended in the air, the wind roared, and the building collapsed. Under Chin Jailei's powerful Phoenix force, everything around was shattered in an instant. Everything floated, even the surrounding sea water began to float in the air, and countless humans and mutants instantly turned into nothingness. Chapter 126 Chapter 123. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Run away. Suddenly, the scene fell into chaos, and both the enemy and us hugged their heads like headless flies. The two sides who were fighting just now do not have the slightest desire to fight. What the hell are you fighting? It's important to escape. Ah, mutant, who was closer to Chin Gray, was instantly shattered and floated in the air. Ah, like the end, the screams were endless. It's terrifying. Sandman's body was also disintegrated instantly by the terrifying Phoenix force, but there was still a small part that flew far away. The two flying guys, Dianguang Man and Sandman, appeared in the air in the distance, watching the terrifying scene at the scene with fear, and Spider-Man was held in the air by the two. How can mortals have such power? The three of them thought of it in fear. Wait, what about Lee? At this moment, the three of them suddenly thought of a very serious problem. I'm the only one who can stop her. Take everyone to a safe place, and go quickly. Wolverine looked at Storm. Chin. Wolverine walked to Chin Gray. Chin only glanced at Wolverine, and the clothes on Wolverine were wiped out in an instant. Under the pressure of the majestic waves hitting, Wolverine took a hard step forward. The skin on his body began to dissipate under the terrifying power of Phoenix Force, revealing the adamantium bones in it. But Wolverine's self-healing ability was abnormal and recovered in an instant. At this time, a figure appeared beside Wolverine. I'm the only one who can stop her. Take everyone to a safe place, go quickly. Li Wei said to Wolverine. Wolverine looked at Li Wei, but found that this guy was intact under the power of the horror, and even the tights on his body were not affected in the slightest. Okay. Wolverine responded. Although I don't know why this bald head was not affected by the terrorist force, he seems to be the most suitable person here. He has seen Li Wei's powerful force. Wait, why is this sentence so familiar? Li Wei looked at Qin Lei, who was showing great power, and his heart jumped for joy, and finally found an opponent. An opponent who can be worth his punch. Juggernaut did make him feel a bit of excitement, but it was far from enough. Compared with the powerful Phoenix force of Jean Grey, it was far behind. Bang! Li Wei's toes touched the ground, and the ground exploded. He turned into a golden flash and rushed towards Qin Grey. Qin Lei seemed to feel threatened, her eyes that turned black, even the white of her eyes looked at Li Wei, and instantly frozen Li Wei in the air. Advertisement. Li Wei was suspended in the air, and a terrifying force that had never been experienced before hit him from all directions, and the surrounding air seemed to tear every inch of his muscles. This feeling is really good. The corners of Li Wei's mouth raised, and his heart was extremely excited. Yubu. Li Wei's toes were a little in the air, and the whole person rushed towards Qin Grey again. Qin Grey stretched out his hand, and Li Wei froze again in the air. Following Qin Grey's thought, Li Wei rushed towards his back like a cannonball. Boom bang bang, Li Wei hit the ground and rushed out hundreds of meters behind him. After crossing the island, he flew to the sea behind him, and a ship passed by him. What a powerful force! Li Wei became more and more interested. His toes were a little bit on the surface of the sea, and with a boom, the sea suddenly sank, forming a puddle hundreds of meters in diameter. And Li Wei had already turned into a golden flash and rushed towards the distant island. Within a breath, Li Wei reappeared in the sky above Qin Jirei. Qin Lei became angry, her pupils became darker, and her power became more and more terrifying. The most terrifying force in the universe was leaking out bit by bit. Go to death. Qin Grey spit out 2 words angrily. She stretched out her hand, and a violent force of terror attacked Li Wei from all directions. Suddenly, the battle suit on Li Wei instantly turned into smoke and disappeared. But also in an instant, the yellow light flickered, and the battle suit regrouped on Li Wei as if it were upside down. Bang! Li Wei pointed his toes in the air, and the whole person turned into a golden flash and rushed towards Qin Grey. Ordinary boxing. Li Wei came to Qin Lei in an instant, and his fist blasted out with a violent piercing sound. At the same time, a mighty force erupted from Qin Lei's body. Boom! Phoenix Force and Li Wei's fists collided, and there was a deafening sound. Even in New York City in the distance, the roaring sound could be heard through the sky. Qin Grey snorted, and the whole person turned into a black line and rushed towards the distance. As Qin Lei flew upside down, the ground exploded, pulling out a long gully. In an instant, she crossed the island and was also marked by a ravine on the sea. After a few floats on the surface of the sea, Qin Grey stopped. She is floating in the air, which is thousands of meters away from the island. Qin Lei ascended high into the sky. At this moment, she had obviously entered a state of extreme anger. The sea began to surge and floated up into the air with her. A crack appeared on her cheek, but there was no blood, and there was burning fire in the crack. Boom! With a loud explosion, a golden light blasted towards Qin Grey. Qin Lei waved his hand, and the golden light turned 90 degrees, hitting the sea below, and slammed into the ocean fiercely. Advertisement. Like a drop of water falling into the surface of the water, a surging wave on the sea surface swept out towards the surroundings. Far away in a broken park in Manhattan, it was swept by waves again. At this time, a dull roar sounded, and there was a huge amount of ripples on the sea surface, and a golden light impacted from the sea surface. In a short while, Li Wei came to the sky over Qin Jirei. Boom! Li Wei dropped his toes in the air, and he disappeared. Interesting. If Phoenix Force is horrible. In that case, then I take it seriously. Seriously serious punch. The figure flickered, and Li Wei appeared in front of Qin Lei, his fist bombarded with a harsh sonic boom. Shoo! A more harsh sound came. Qin Lei was burning with flames, and her clothes were burned out in an instant, and the space behind her also burned, faintly forming a huge amounts of firebird shape. Boom! 2 terrifying forces collided together, and there was a thunderous roar, and a powerful energy wind swept out towards the surroundings. The blazing flames in the sky dissipated invisible in an instant. And Qin Lei turned into a flame and rushed out behind him. Boom! With a loud explosion, Qin Lei's body instantly penetrated a tall building thousands of meters away. Booming, Qin Lei's body came to a halt after hitting the ground for a kilometer. A golden light flickered, and Li Wei appeared on a building. With another jump, Li Wei came to Qin Lei's side. At the moment, here was a huge crater tens of meters in diameter knocked out by Qin Grey. Li Wei jumped into the huge pit, and Qin Gray lay in the center of the huge pit, motionless. When Li Wei was surprised, Qin Gray's body was actually intact under his punch. No, it's not intact. There were dense cracks on Qin Jielei's body, but no blood flowed out. As for her, her life characteristics have completely disappeared. It should be Phoenix Force that protected her body, otherwise, Li Wei couldn't think of how an ordinary person's body could block his serious punch. As soon as Li Wei waved his hand, a set of clothes appeared in his hands, and he put the clothes on Qin Gray's body. A few days after the mutant rebellion. With full gratitude, I am here to introduce the new UN ambassador. On behalf of all American citizens, mankind, and mutant, I speak to the world. Views on the mutant incident are being broadcast on the TV. The emergence of the mutant antidote reagent allowed the Brotherhood forces headed by Magneto to seize the opportunity to convene a large number of mutants to cause chaos, and a fierce war with mankind broke out. Advertisement. After being desperately blocked by X-Men, who was also a mutant force, he finally defeated the mutant Brotherhood led by Magneto. Unlike Magneto, which advocates changing the fate of mutant through a violent revolution, X-Men advocates integrating into mankind and coexisting peacefully with mankind. After this war, mankind finally realized that violence is not the only solution. Mutant finally achieved the same status as humans, and the two sides began to live in peace. At least, on the surface. As for how the two races will get along and what kind of society they will build in the future, this is a question worth pondering. Good job, Mao Ball. At Xavier Genius Youth School, Logan showed a slightly relieved look. Finally, the professor's wish came true. All these sacrifices have yielded some results. The current Wolverine Logan has become the principal of Mutant School and the captain of X-Men. Yeah, I won. On the side of the sofa, a bald head sat on it cross-legged with a solemn expression. The next moment, his cheek was blooming like a flower, and he was dancing with joy with a game console in his hand. Beside the bald head, is the hero Spider-Man. The departure of Professor X left the school without a source of funding. The Xavier Genius Youth School is almost in a state of collapse, which makes Wolverine, a guy who only knows how to fight and kill, is very big. In the past few days, he has simply been messy, helpless, panicked, burnt, upside down, and messy. Fortunately, this bald head came here and expressed his willingness to support the continued development of their mutant school. For such kind people, Wolverine Logan just wanted to say that there should be more. The vast universe is floating with cosmic dust and galaxy light and dust. In the infinite universe, the Earth is just one inconspicuous dust. Somewhere in the far galaxy, Tesseract has awakening. It's in a small space, in the human world. Humans try to control it and use it, but only our allies know how to master the secret of the Rubik's Cube. Let your allies be the pioneers, we Chidori will follow. This planet can belong to him, but the entire universe will be ours. Chapter 127 Chapter 124 Open black lens bracket God of Trick close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The beautiful and vast universe, the deep and endless starry sky, carries the mystery that makes people fascinating. In a magnificent nebula, a blue planet came into view. Misunderstanding again and again. My sense of existence, and everything it represents, has been misunderstood and denied by Heavenly Father time and time again. The man muttered to himself. He looked at the blue planet in his palm. The hymns sung to Odin will not include these, nor will they sing the poems about his understanding of such inferior emotions. However, this kind of despicable emotion is like a fish in water in my dark soul. I am the beast of the last days. The man said. He is the god of Asgard, the evil god of the 9 worlds, Loki. Among the gods, none of them can understand. I have begun to enjoy this emotion. It gave me goals and gave me motivation. What you said should be Thor, the one who makes you hate. Your brother in name, the warrior of the kingdom. You fought endlessly with him, but in the end nothing was accomplished. Your father abandoned you. Beside Loki, a burly figure in armor appeared. Encased in the armor, is a mechanical body, the Zeta Rising. You are wrong. I left Asgard. I will do more to leave that place. This is my goal. I will be the king here. Loki stared at the planet in his palm, with a wicked smile at the corner of his mouth. As for Thor, the so-called Thor. I will make him succumb to me in the presence of those who put him on the gods, and make him faceless. Advertisement. At this moment, he is hiding in the world. Incarnate as immortal, with what he loves. It's a stain on the immortal. My brother, destroy everything you love, I can be pleased with it. But you are trapped in this place, how do you find him to seek revenge? The Zeta Ruixing asked. Who am I? Loki looked at the Zeta Rising. Master Loki. I am the god of Asgard, the evil god Loki. I have magical powers you can never imagine. I can see through everything. Loki looked at the planet in his hand, as if a pair of huge amounts of eyes appeared on the planet. However, there are also powerful forces on this planet. Before the army arrives, I have to use its natural resources to deal with their power. Stupid mortals, I only need to whisper and whisper, and I can turn their world upside down. As soon as the voice fell, in Loki's vision, a green figure with huge amounts of body flew across the sky. No, not flying, but jumping. It seems that the world has also bred his own demons. In this beast's body, I smell a twisted shapeshifting and tortured soul. Stupid, blind and angry, a simple pawn, a pawn that can attract their attention. I can corrupt him. On Earth, what appeared in Loki's vision was Hulk. At this moment, it did not revert to a banner, it was angry and blindly jumping in the desert. Loki's projection appeared in the sky, with a wicked smile on his mouth. Then he disappeared. When he appeared again, he was in front of an angry Hulk. It's just that Loki transformed into a huge dragon, yelling at Hulk. Advertisement. Stupid beast, you actually have the face to walk among the masses, you are a ridiculous monster. Hulk was in anger, and it roared, do you want to fight? I'll be with you. Hulk shock. Hulk kicked his legs on the ground, and rushed towards the dragon that Loki had transformed with a boom, knocking the dragon into the air with a punch. Useless monster. In the desert, the sand twisted and changed, forming a huge amounts of face. You are so stupid that you have no right to go against me. You even got the wrong direction. Hulk smashed. Hulk slammed down, slamming his fist toward the transformed face. Boom. With a boom, a deep pit appeared in the desert. Beast, where am I? Beside, the sand gathered into a huge amount of evil dragon. I want to smash you in the face. Hulk roared and appeared next to the dragon in an instant, killing the dragon with a punch. Freak, I am here. In the distant sky, the dragon reappeared. Roar. Hulk roared, it was very angry, and leapt towards the dragon with a boom. Simple-minded and useless monsters, follow me obediently. Looking at Hulk, who followed his magical phantom and chased after him, Loki's projection appeared in the sky. Rainbow Island. A few months have passed since the Magneto incident, and in the past few months, there has been no major disturbance. The super spacecraft hovered over the island, but it was invisible. I adjusted the energy value to 200%. As long as it is not a nuclear bomb, it is almost impossible to break this defense in a short time. Peter said, and his fingers were jumping on the operation interface. On the screen, you can see the top view of the island, and the super spacecraft is suspended above the island. Taking the super spaceship as the apex, the entire beautiful island is enveloped by a transparent aperture. This is one of the functions of the super spacecraft that Peter has repaired in the past few months to release the energy shield. Advertisement. The entire island is shrouded in energy shields, except for daily entrances and exits. No one can enter or leave the island. I don't know if this energy shield can block my punch. Li Wei said with interest. Peter didn't dare to guarantee 100%, although he was confident in the defense of the energy shield. But he has more confidence in Li Wei's fist. Li, what are you going to do? Suddenly, Peter was taken aback and hurriedly pulled the eager Li Wei back to the villa. In addition to Li Wei and Peter, there is also the little black spider Myers, and in addition, there is a man, Eddie. This guy found Li Wei 3 days ago, and after Li Wei's consent, he became the reserve hero of the Heroes Association, and the little black spider Miles also became the reserve hero. It's 1420, Republic of South Africa time, and the city of Johannesburg is attacked by a mysterious monster. It is very clear that the situation in the Johannesburg city is expanding. The following is what we can confirm. This monster called Hulk by the media is obviously irritable and rampant in the city, causing a large number of citizens. Casualties. Let's ask Richard Hayes to bring you a live report of Johannesburg city. Is Richard there? At this moment, a real-time news is playing on Peter's computer. This is the real-time news from the African team that Li Wei established called the All-Knowing Eye Intelligence System. Hello everyone, this is Richard. We don't know much now. Regarding this mysterious monster, Hulk, some people have rashly interpreted it as an urban monster legend. But look behind me, the threat is real. Look, he raised a tank. God, this is terrible. The camera shows the city behind the reporter who reported on the scene, with smoke and fire blazing into the sky. It can be seen that the army is fighting a big green monster. But it can also be clearly seen that the weapons of the army seem to be incapable of this monster. Even if hit by a tank, the monster is still alive. Chapter 128 Chapter 125 Open black lens bracket out of control Rubik's Cube close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The high-rise buildings have turned into ruined walls. The streets that used to be bustling with traffic are now full of crowds of citizens fleeing in panic. All kinds of shouts, crying, and screams are endless. The situation now seems to be getting worse. Although our army has fought very bravely, it is clear that our people's army is not the opponent of this monster. Let me ask the citizens who escaped from the dead, what happened before? Following Richard's words, the camera was given to an old man. Hello, old gentleman, are you a local citizen of Johannesburg? Yes, my name is Rodri. I have lived in this city for more than 60 years. Then Rodri, what happened before and why a monster appeared in this city? The old man on the camera seemed to be still in fear. He trembled and said, I was drinking coffee with a few friends at the time, and then the monster fell from the sky and instantly trampled some of my friends into mud. I suffered the same bad news as a few old friends. Seriously, even the scariest nightmare I have ever had, it's not so scary. To be honest, there was a moment when I could do nothing but pray. The old man wiped the sweat off his forehead. Oh my God, that monster seems to be coming over here. If we don't want to be eaten by that monster, we have to go. The above is Richard's live report from Johannesburg. It's Hulk. This guy showed up and got lost in control. Let's go. Rainbow Island. Advertisement. A fighter plane flew out of the beautiful island and quickly disappeared into the distant sky. Then, a figure emerged over the island. Stupid mortals, I just played a little trick and played them around. The figure that appeared was the evil god of the 9 worlds, Loki, the god of tricks. However, there is another guy. Loki's gaze looked far away, as if he could see through everything, and the figure of a doctor appeared in his eyes. My war with him will start again. But, not now. Loki said, I have more important things to do, and I have to turn this guy away. With this guy's IQ, I don't think it is difficult. The small town of Antigore. A certain hospital. Dr. Blake, you better come over. What's the matter? A strong doctor came over. Look at this is the weirdest email I have ever seen in my life. There is no reply address, no IP address. I can't find out who sent it, and I can't find out with a router. A nurse pointed to her body. The front computer screen. It will open automatically when received. On the computer screen, it was an email composed of weird text. It looks like some Norse, the doctor said casually. Then what do we do? If I want to tell you, just delete it, maybe it's just a spam email. Tell Kevin who repairs the computer to give the system a complete antivirus. This thing is nothing, don't take it to heart. In addition, I have to go to the outskirts of the city now. You tell the dean that I am leaving. After speaking, the doctor took the elevator to the top floor. Father, I feel the smell of conspiracy again, the doctor said. The email was actually written in God's domain text, and he didn't know how God's domain text would appear in the earth. Also, the content of that email was that a mysterious monster appeared in Johannesburg, asking for his help. Advertisement. Obviously, the person who sent this email not only understands the text of God domain, but also knows his identity. In any case, he has to go over and pull out the people behind the scenes. As he said, the doctor raised his arm. Immediately, a lightning bolt suddenly appeared in the cloudless sky. If the lightning didn't go anywhere, it hit the doctor directly. Thor is here. The brilliance dissipated, and the doctor had turned into Thor, wearing a magnificent armor and holding Mjolnir. With Li Wei's participation, Bifrost was not broken by Thor. Therefore, Thor is now incarnate as a mortal, hiding in the world, and living a happy life with his girlfriend Jane Foster. Thor rotates Mjolnir, leaps into the distance, and quickly disappears from sight. What Thor didn't know was that Loki's figure appeared immediately after he left. Stupid Thor. With his IQ, I don't know why he beat me. Thor, our war will begin soon. Now, it's time for me to take action. Loki's figure gradually faded. At the same time, somewhere in the Milky Way in the distance, there is a fleet of fleets. On the main ship, Loki looked at the planet in his palm with a wicked smile. These Earthlings, even Thor, were thrown around by his little tricks. Now, he personally took action to seize the thing that would allow his army to pass through the space and descend on the Earth. A secret military base in S.H.I.E.L.D. All personnel, please note that the evacuation order has been confirmed. Please take the designated vehicle to evacuate immediately. Repeat, this is not a drill. Advertisement. Attention everyone, please evacuate immediately. Please evacuate immediately. The secret base is undergoing a panic evacuation. Boom, a helicopter parked at the base parking airfield. S.H.I.E.L.D. Commander Nick Fury stepped off the helicopter and walked towards the Phil Coulson agent not far away with several agents. Nick came here because he got bad news. How is the situation? Nick looked at the Phil Coulson agent. Sir, the worst thing is, I don't know the situation. Phil Coulson said. 4 hours ago, Dr. Eric detected a burst of energy from the Rubik's Cube. With that, several people took the elevator into the secret laboratory underground. I remember I didn't authorize the doctor to perform the test, Nick said. Dr. Eric did not perform the test. He is not in the room at all. The Rubik's Cube is automatically triggered. Phil Coulson agent replied. What is the current level of energy? Continuously rising. Phil Coulson said, after confirming that the doctor could not be closed, we ordered the evacuation. How long does it take to withdraw all? The venue will be cleared in half an hour. Hurry up. Yeah. Phil Coulson nodded, and walked away with a few agents. Sir, if we can't control the energy of Tesseract, I think it's useless to hide anywhere, said a female agent behind Nick. I want you to make sure that the second stage prototype can be safely transferred, Nick said as he walked. Sir, is it not the time to prioritize these? Said the female agent. Unless the end of the world is here, we will have to live on. Nick turned to look at the female agent, check the items immediately and load all the related equipment into a truck. Yes, sir. The female character turned her head and walked away. Chapter 129, Execution of Justice, 2-in-1 for subscription and recommendation. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Nick Fury didn't dare to delay any time. After walking into the laboratory, he walked quickly towards Dr. Eric. What's going on, Doctor? Nick asked. Tell me what's going on now. Tesseract is not serious, Dr. Eric explained. Is it time to make a joke? Not kidding. Tesseract is not only active, but it does its own way. You didn't pull the plug to try. Tesseract was originally an energy source. Dr. Eric said, we turned off the power and turned it on again. If we let it reach its peak. Isn't that our goal? To extract energy from the universe. Nick interrupted Dr. Eric, his eyes turned to Tesseract, which was emitting some energy. We are not ready yet. My calculations will take a while. It keeps emitting interference and radiation. Dr. Eric said, but it's not harmful, it's very low gamma rays. Where is the Barton agent? Nick asked. That eagle boy, cat's in the upper birdhouse. Dr. Eric pointed to the upper air behind him. Barton agent, where are you? Nick asked. Here. Barton's voice came from Nick's communication, and he slid down a rope in the sky. My task for you is to observe carefully, Barton. Nick said as they stepped aside. You can see far only by standing tall, Barton said. Seeing something activated it. No one came in or out. Dr. Eric is innocent. No contact or information. They talked and walked to the Rubik's Cube. Barton said, if there is a problem, it won't be on our side. Our side. Nick looked at Barton. Yeah, the Rubik's Cube is a two-way channel. It not only leads to us, but also leads to another door somewhere unknown in the universe, right? Barton said. Both doors should be able to open to each other. Doctor, there is another pulse. At this time, a scientific researcher said. Did it happen again? It's not time yet. The doctor walked over quickly, and on the machine's display, the Rubik's Cube exploded with energy. What's the matter, Doctor? Nick and Barton walked over. Tesseract just exploded with energy. As soon as Dr. Eric's voice fell, the Tesseract embedded in the machine in front of him exploded with energy. Under the action of this powerful energy, the entire secret base shook. At the same time, Tesseract exudes brilliance, a burst of energy rushing forward. Under the action of Tesseract's energy, a vortex cave appeared in the space ahead, and the cosmic space inside, the galaxy dust could be clearly seen. These energies gathered together, and then burst out again, sweeping out toward the surroundings. The energy radiated away, and a figure squatted on the ground. The surrounding guards walked forward cautiously, and the figure slowly stood up. It was the evil god Loki. Sir, please put down your spear, Nick said to Loki. Loki looked at the energy scepter in his hand and pierced it towards Nick. An energy beam impacted towards Nick, and Barton immediately threw Nick down. Boom boom boom. The surrounding guards immediately fired, and the bullets shot towards Loki. It is a pity that Loki is a god, and his body is almost immune to the weapons of humans on Earth. The bullet hit him, sending out sparks, and even his clothes could not be damaged. Loki rushed forward, and a few bursts of energy blew out the surrounding guards. Advertisement. Almost instantly, Loki ended the battle. At this moment, Barton opened the compound bow in his hand, and the arrow shot towards Loki. Whoosh. The lightning-fast arrow shot directly through Loki's body, but it was just a phantom. Loki appeared in front of Barton and grabbed Barton's arm. You are different, Loki said, and he placed the scepter on Barton's chest, only to see Barton's pupils turned black, and then recovered. Barton put away the bow and arrow. Seeing this, Nick Fury took the Tesseract off and put it in the box. Just as he was about to sneak away, Loki's voice sounded. Put the box down, I need it. Loki looked at Nick. No need to be so nervous, right? Nick turned around. Definitely necessary. I came all the way for this. Loki said. I am Loki, from God's domain, and I have a great mission that you can't understand. We have no grievances with you, Nick said. The ants in your shoes have no grievances. So you want to trample us to death? I actually brought good news. Loki said, a world without concern. What are you worried about? Freedom. Freedom is the biggest lie in life. If you accept this, your heart. Loki's figure changes. He appears in front of Dr. Eric, and points the energy scepter on Dr. Eric's chest. You can get peace. The pupils of Dr. Eric's eyes turned pure black at first, and then recovered again. He was also controlled by Loki. What you call peace reminds me of its antonym. Nick mocked. Boss, Commander Nick is delaying time. Barden looked at Loki. This place is about to explode. We will be buried under the pile of rocks, hundreds of meters. It's the same as the Egyptian pyramids. Nick said. He's right, the conveyor door is beginning to collapse. Dr. Eric was able to stop the machine while debugging. There is still 2 minutes before the complete subversion. Okay. Loki nodded, and a burst of energy knocked Nick away. Subsequently, several people took away the box containing the Rubik's Cube. I need these cars. Several people walked out of the laboratory and saw the female agent outside, Barden said. Who is that weird guy? The female agent looked at Loki. Chief Nick didn't let me tell you. Barden said. Several people got in the car. Hill, did you hear that? Barden rebelled. At this time, Nick's voice rang from the female agent's communicator. The female agent named Hill was taken aback, and she immediately rolled forward, and at the same time as the voice sounded, Barden shot. Boom boom boom. Barden missed the Hill agent, and several people quickly got into the car and rushed forward. They took the Rubik's Cube. Stop them. Nick's voice came. Yes, sir, Hill agent said, and she hurried forward and drove a car to chase Barden's car. At the moment Nick Fury fled by helicopter, the entire secret military base was razed to the ground by the self-destruct procedure he initiated. Sir Nick, can you hear it? The communicator rang the voice of Phil Coulson agent. I can hear that the Rubik's Cube was taken by an unknown enemy. Hill, are you okay? Nick said. I'm fine, but they ran away. Hill, issue an emergency order to gather all the people who were not involved in the rescue and immediately retrieve the box for me. Nick said. Yes, sir. Phil Coulson, you go back to headquarters and raise a 7-level alert. In addition, gather the captain, Iron Man, and Vibe Woman. Advertisement. From the current situation, the war has already begun. The Rainbow Country, the Republic of South Africa. The City of Gold, John Nesberg. At the moment, the 3 superheroes of the Heroes Association also came to this largest city in Africa. Coming with Lee Wei are the preparatory heroes who have just joined the Heroes Association, the black teenager Spider-Man Myers, and the Venom Eddie. The center of the city of John Nesberg was filled with smoke and flames. The bustling business center area has been turned into ruins. The initiator of all this is the mysterious monster, Hulk. At this moment, Hulk is fighting the army of the Republic of South Africa. The fighting was fierce, and there was no doubt that the army of the Republic of South Africa was hanged and beaten by Hulk. Rumble. There was a bang, and one after another tanks were directly smashed by Hulk, and the angry Hulk roared up to the sky. Angry Hulk. Presumably this is its strongest time. Lee Wei's eyes were torch. 2. It's time to enforce our justice. With that said, Lee Wei jumped off the fighter plane. Miles and Eddie followed Lee Wei, but they didn't dare to land directly like Lee Wei. Eddie jumped towards the building next to him, and after a few buffers, he steadily fell to the ground, and then Miles also came to the ground. Sir, what should we do? On the battlefield ahead, an officer asked the commander. Their army is obviously not an opponent of the mysterious monster, Hulk. This monster is fighting more and more fiercely, Before the officer's words were finished, the screams of the army fighting against Hulk in front came, and even a corpse flew in front of them. The soldier's body has been twisted, his arms are torn off, and blood is flowing all over the ground. The commander's face was so gloomy that it seemed that raindrops were about to fall. The army was not an opponent of Hulk. It was obvious that his eyes were not blind yet, he could tell. But he can't let the army retreat, otherwise, he will definitely be behind. He knew the tactics of that group of politicians very well. You can't go in. At this moment, the noise of the soldiers came. The commander turned his head and looked back, and saw 3 strange guys approaching him under the resistance of the soldiers. A bald head, a little guy in a black spider suit, and a burly black monster. The commander was startled by the 3 persons that suddenly appeared, and subconsciously ordered the soldiers to stop them from advancing. The figure flickered, and Lee Wei came to the commander. Don't move. Immediately, the commander's guard soldiers surrounded Lee Wei's regiment. I don't have any malice. Lee Wei said. These people speak English. Li Wei continued, I'm here to help you deal with this monster. Who are you? The commander did not tell the soldiers to retreat, but looked at Li Wei vigilantly. There was a black monster behind this bald head, and no one dared to relax. Hero. Li Wei said. You are here to deal with that monster? The commander asked. Yes. Li Wei nodded. After pondering for a while, the commander said, Go. Let your army retreat, or our battle will affect you. Li Wei reminded. The army gave way to Li Wei and the three of them came to the main battlefield of Hulk. At the command of the commander, the army retreated. But they didn't step back far, and it seemed that the commander didn't trust them. Advertisement. In this case, Li Wei can't help it. After all, he had reminded it. The battle with Hulk will definitely spread to the neighborhood. In a real fight, you may not be able to keep your hands away. Venom was a little eager to try. When its host was Spider-Man, it had seen the power of Hulk. Go. Levi suppressed the frenetic desire to fight in his heart and looked at Venom Eddie and Spider-Man Miles. Although Li Wei wanted to fight Hulk very much, he still gave the opportunity of the first battle to Venom Eddie and Spider-Man Miles. Venom and Miles, the two of them should not be Hulk's opponents. Their fighting will only make Hulk more and more angry and stronger. This is exactly what Li Wei expected. With a sign from Levi, the Venom Eddie and Spider-Man Miles rushed out. Roar. An angry Hulk spotted the two of them. It pushed its legs on the ground and rushed towards them. Whoosh. Several cobwebs sprayed on Hulk's face, and Hulk reached out and tore off cobweb. At this time, the Venom Eddie came to Hulk and threw his fist at Hulk. Boom. Hulk was also punching at the same time, and the fists of the two monsters collided in the air. I saw that Venom's arms were twisted, and the whole person turned into a cannonball and rushed out behind him. Boom bang bang. After a few laps on the ground, the Venom jumped from the ground and flew back 5 or 6 meters before stopping, and it rushed towards Hulk again. At this time, Black Spider-Man Miles and Hulk handed over. Although Miles lacks combat experience, he is extremely agile and can also be invisible for a short time, easily avoiding Hulk's attacks. Miles was moving flexibly, shooting cobwebs one after another, wrapping Hulk's legs around. Miles flew up and kicked Hulk. Hulk stepped back a few steps. At this moment, Venom rushed up and hit Hulk's head with a punch, knocking Hulk to the ground. Hulk roared, and the cobweb on his leg was instantly broken. The moment the Venom attacked Hulk, it knocked to the ground with a punch. Hulk grabbed Venom's calf, smashed it against the ground countless times, and then threw it into the building. Hulk shock. Hulk kicked his legs on the ground and jumped towards the black spider leaping in the air. Miles was taken aback. He didn't expect that a heavy guy like Hulk could be so fast. A cobweb shot forward, avoiding Hulk's attack at the very moment. Roar. Hulk fell to the ground. He let out a roar, his hands aimed at Miles who was flying in the air, and slapped them together. Boom. The violent palm wind rushed towards Miles. Miles obviously did not expect Hulk to have such an attack, and he was directly blown away by the palm of the wind. But this was not over yet. The remaining palm wind shattered the glass of the building in front one after another. At this moment, Venom strode quickly towards Hulk. Hulk smashed. Hulk hit with a backhand, knocking the Venom to the ground, and rolled back several tens of meters before stopping. Venom immediately got up, and Hulk had already rushed towards him. In the blink of an eye, Hulk's attack had come to the Venom, and his fist was smashing at it. The Venom was not afraid at all, and his fists blasted out. Boom. A dull sound came out, and the Venom's arm was twisted behind him by huge amounts of power. Hulk let out a roar and slammed his fist on Venom's body. Boom. The Venom fluttered behind him like a kite with a broken line. Chapter 30 Open black lens bracket. The strongest on the surface. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The strength of Venom is no problem with Hulk in normal state, but there is still a lot of gap between Hulk in extreme anger. In the next few minutes, the Venom was beaten by Hulk. The combination of Black Spider and Venom did not suppress Hulk at all, but instead made Hulk stronger as he fought. Let me come. Li Wei walked onto the battlefield with piercing eyes. Miles, Venom, and Hulk are all gold players for ordinary players, but it is clear that Angry Hulk is a super local player. Miles and Venom were naturally but Angry Hulk. Hulk has the title of the strongest power on Earth, but unfortunately, he met Li Wei. You are an Oxygen Gold player, but sorry, I am a plug-in player. Sorry, there are plugins that can really do whatever they want. The strongest force will change hands today. I am the strongest man on the surface. After Venom and Black Spider-Man left the field, Hulk, who had no opponents, roared angrily and rushed towards Li Wei. Boom. Hulk kicked his legs on the ground, and the whole person leapt up. At a distance of hundreds of meters, Hulk came to the sky above Li Wei, taking the momentum of Mount Tai to press against Li Wei. Hulk smashed. Hulk snarled, slamming his fist at Li Wei. Li Wei stretched out his hand to block Hulk's attack. Boom. There was a roar, and the concrete floor cracked in an instant, and a large number of dense cracks appeared in the range of tens of meters centered on Li Wei. At the center of Li Wei's location, the ground is sunken down to a depth of half a meter. Seeing Li Wei blocking his attack, Hulk roared angrily, and then punched Li Wei in the chest again. Li Wei stretched out his hand to block again, an explosive force of terror came, and Li Wei rushed behind him. Boom. Li Wei's body pierced a building. He tossed in the air and hit the ground for more than 10 meters before buffering the impact. Fortunately, when Hulk was at war with the army, the city government of Johannesburg had arranged for citizens to start taking refuge, and there were no citizens within a few kilometers. Very strong. Hulk. Li Wei's eyes flashed out, and his body unconsciously assumed a ready-to-go posture. Advertisement. With a bang, Hulk leapt into the air, a few hundred meters away, almost instantly. Hulk smashed. Following Hulk's roar, the burly figure smashed towards Li Wei. Li Wei stepped back half a step, his gaze was torch, and he assumed an attacking posture, and his fist was also bombarded towards Hulk. Bang! The two fists slammed into each other in the air, and a dull sound sounded. Afterwards, there was a deafening boom, and the ground exploded. Within a few hundred meters, the ground instantly cracked. The rubble splashed, and the generated air waves swept out towards the surroundings. Boom! Then, Hulk rushed out behind him like a cannonball. Boom! Hulk's body pierced through 3 buildings, and after hitting the street for hundreds of meters, it rolled to the ground. Retreat quickly. At this time, the commander gave the order. It's horrible, this is a battle between monsters, it has nothing to do with ordinary people, even the onlookers. These 2 monsters can knock the fist at will, and they can overturn the building. How dare they stay here again? Roar. Hulk's roar came from a distance. Very well, I knew you had more than this strength. Li Wei was even more excited. The blood finally started to boil. He is not afraid that the enemy is too strong, he is afraid that the enemy is not strong. Boom bang bang, Hulk rushed towards Li Wei from a few hundred meters away, like a rampant bulldozer, everything that stood in front of it was overthrown by violence. The distance of several hundred meters, not long for Hulk, came to Li Wei in no time. At this time, he was very angry, very angry. From birth to now, he has never felt such pain. Hulk smashed. Hulk let out an angry roar, and slammed his fist towards Li Wei. Boom. The ground cracked, and Li Wei blocked his first punch. Bang. The second punch came out and was blocked by Li Wei. Advertisement. Third punch. Fourth punch. Fifth punch. After roar sucked, Hulk had already bombarded Li Wei with 5 full punches, but they were all blocked by Li Wei. Come on again, Hulk, you can be stronger. Li Wei said with piercing eyes. Hulk smashed. Hulk's anger rose again, and it roared, its fists blasted at Li Wei fiercely. Li Wei stretched out his hand to block, a terrifying force struck, Li Wei's body was shaken, and the whole person turned into a golden light and rushed out behind him. Wherever the golden light went, the ground exploded. Li Wei pulled out a ravine of several hundred meters on the ground, and after smashing it hundreds of meters out of the ground, he smashed it into a building. The building collapsed and drowned Li Wei. Boom. The ruins burst open, and the rubble was lifted out. Li Wei walked out of the ruins, his white cloak flying. It's a terrifying power, worthy of being an invincible Hulk, it's worth my punch. Li Wei's pupils burst into light, and he looked at Hulk in the distance. In the distance, seeing Li Wei safe and sound, Hulk roared and rushed towards Li Wei. Boom. Li Wei kicked his legs on the ground, and the ground exploded and cracked like a spider web. And Li Wei, the whole person turned into a golden flash and rushed towards Hulk. Hulk roared, his whole person leaping towards the sky. Li Wei kicked his legs on the ground while leaping towards Hulk in the sky. Seriously. Li Wei threw a punch that currently represents absolute power. The fist rubbed the air to make a harsh sonic boom, and the fist slammed by Hulk who was roaring at the same time slammed hard together. Bang. The fists collided fiercely, making an explosion-like sound, and a violent wind pressure hitting the surroundings. Advertisement. The clouds in the sky were also shattered in an instant, turning into a cloudless sky. On the ground, buildings over 100 meters away were knocked off by the violent wind. As for those commercial buildings, they were tragically destroyed by 1/10. As for Hulk, the whole person fell straight from the sky to the ground, hitting the ground heavily, and the rubble mixed with dust and smoke hit the surroundings. When Li Weifei fell, the dust and smoke dispersed, and a huge crater with a diameter of hundreds of meters appeared here. In the center of the giant pit, a figure lay in it. Li Wei walked quickly down the pit and came to Hulk's side. At this moment, Hulk has disappeared, and lying in the center of the giant pit is Banner wearing only a pair of pants. Boss, he is still alive. At this moment, Eddie, who had already walked down and felt the aura of Banner, said. Li Wei looked at Banner. It was obvious that Hulk had been defeated by him. At this time, Li Wei suddenly found a figure flying by in the sky. Li Wei knows who this guy is. If he guessed right, he should be a muscular man holding a hammer. I don't know if this guy's goal is Hulk. Li Wei has noticed this guy before. This household flew several times in the air, and it should have been lost. Li Wei raised his fist towards the sky, and the violent wind pressure swept up. Not long after, a figure rushed down. Boom. The rubble splashed, the dust and smoke dispersed, and a big man came over. Li Wei guessed right, it was Thor, as expected. Li, it's you. Thor was obviously surprised to meet Li Wei here. Thor, why are you here? Chapter 131 Chapter 128 Open black lens bracket mortal body close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. John Nesberg. Someone sent me an email saying that John Nesberg asked for my help, and I came over. Thor said, unexpectedly, I was lost, and I didn't find it after searching for a few times. I actually met you here. Quote. Lee, do you know John Nesberg? This place is really hard to find. Thor asked. Here it is. Li Wei pointed to the ground. Really? There are indeed people who need help here. Thor looked at the area that had fallen into ruins. That was before. The trouble here has been solved. Li Wei said. Is it? Wait. I feel a wave of divine power. It's Loki. He's not dead yet. Thor was surprised and pleasantly surprised. Li, it looks like we can only tell the old story later. I have to go to Loki to settle the account. Thor said, then took his hammer and flew into the sky, disappearing into the distance. Who is this guy? Venom Eddie and Black Spider-Man Miles were obviously curious about this guy with a flight hammer and an exaggerated appearance. This guy is a god. The god of hammers. Boom boom boom. Li Wei's voice fell, and the sky burst into a roar. Several helicopters landed not far from the three of Li Wei, and a group of special soldiers rushed towards the three of them. The commander of the special soldier is General Ross, and it seems that this guy has not given up on hunting Hulk. Hello, we are the Ministry of Defense, and now we need to take Hulk away. At the same time, the secret base established by Loki. Dr. Eric, is this what you want? Barton gave Dr. Eric a glance at what was on the computer. Advertisement. Yes, it's iridium. It comes with meteorites and can form antiprotons, which is very popular now. Dr. Eric said. SHIELD will be more popular if you know it. Barton said. Rest assured, this thing is our next goal, and you will have it. Germany. Stuttgart. Königstrasse 28. The magnificent building, with a high-end and artistic atmosphere. A grand banquet is being held here. Those who are eligible to participate in this banquet are all rich and powerful. In the melodious music, Loki walked into the venue. His steps carry the elegance and calmness of an ancient nobleman, but what he wants to do is not so graceful. Loki walked down the stairs, and the crutch in his hand knocked the guard next to him to the ground. Loki is a god. Even if he doesn't use magic, he can use his body to play a few tons of power at will. Loki looked at the people who were still in surprise, and he locked the target at a glance in the crowd. To open the vault that Hawkeye broke into, he had to ask for his retina. Loki took a step forward. There was clearly more than 10 meters away, but Loki suddenly appeared in front of the target man. Loki grabbed the man's neck and pushed him down on the stone platform next to him, cruelly inserted the device in his hand into the man's eyes, transmitting the retinal data to Hawkeye on the other side. The banquet crowd suddenly panicked and fled outside. Several guards in charge of the order of the banquet rushed towards Loki, and the scepter in Loki's hand shook forward, and suddenly several guards were shaken out. Loki walked out of the meeting room, and as he walked, his body shone with a faint golden brilliance. The gorgeous modern dress disappeared in the golden light and shadow, replaced by the gorgeous and noble golden armor. The cloak was raised behind him, and two long, curved helmets appeared on the head. The figure flickered, and countless Loki phantoms appeared around, enclosing the crowd. Kneel down to me, I said. Kneel down for me. Advertisement. With Loki's roar, everyone knelt down. Isn't that simple? Loki showed an expression of enjoyment. Humans are as weak as ants. And their gods should be high above them and rule this group of tiny ants. Thor hides in the world and becomes immortal, which is really a stain on the immortal. Aren't you born to be like this? Loki walked slowly into the crowd. This is a truth that humans have not revealed. The temptation of freedom robs you of the happiness in your life, and you long to be enslaved. Loki went on to say, just like once weak humans prayed for the protection of the gods. Humans should be protected and ruled by the gods as they once were. You are frantically pursuing power and status. In fact, you are full of servility in your bones. You will submit to your ruler sooner or later. Loki said, But his words were interrupted by an old man who got up. But it definitely won't be someone like you, the old man said. I am unique. I am the god of Asgard, you gods who kneel and pray. Loki walked towards the old man step by step, and some humans dared to interrupt his speech and dared to resist him. There are so many shameless people like you. The old man was not scared by Loki. The resistance of the ant-like humans made Loki a little funny. This smile was mocking, not disdainful. What gave these humans the courage to say such words to the gods? Look at this old guy, he is a role model for the rebels. Loki pointed the scepter in his hand at the old man, and a burst of energy came out. At the moment, a figure stood in front of the old man, and the shield in his hand bounced the energy back, knocking Loki to the ground. Advertisement. I remember the last time I came to Germany, there was also someone who put himself above everyone else and was killed. Captain Steve walked over to Loki. As a soldier, Loki disdain, he knows this soldier naturally, and he mocks, an outdated person. Loki, put down your weapons and surrender. At this time, the fighter plane driven by the Natasha Romanoff agent hovered in the sky, and the weapon was aimed at Loki. Human weapons. Loki dismissed, and as soon as his voice fell, the scepter in his hand shot out a burst of energy and struck the fighter plane. At the same time, Captain Steve's shield also threw it at Loki. Although the shield's attack had no effect on Loki, Steve took advantage of this opportunity to rush over and punch Loki in the cheek the moment he took the shield. Loki raised the scepter in his hand and used it as a spear to slash at Steve. Dang Kang. Sparks flew. Steve blocked Loki's attack with a shield. He punched Loki with a backhand, but hit a blank. Loki's figure gradually faded, it was a phantom. When Loki appeared again, it was behind Steve, and the scepter fired a burst of energy to knock Steve away. Kneel, mortal. The figure flickered, and Loki was already in front of Steve, the scepter pressed against Steve's head. You dream. Steve took the scepter, flew up and kicked Loki around his waist, only to find that Loki didn't move. A mortal body. Loki kicked Steve away with a long kick. Boom. Just as Loki was attacking, an energy cannon hit Loki in the chest, flying him out. Iron Man flew down and aimed his weapon at Loki. Move it again. You reindeer. I surrender. Loki raised his hands, the armor on his body turned into golden light and disappeared. Chapter 132 Chapter 129 These people are all gods, seeking subscription. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. John Nesberg. Sorry, I can't give Hulk to you. Li Wei refused General Rose's request. Sir, are you serious? Under General Rose's thick eyebrows, a pair of stern eyes stared at Li Wei unblinkingly. He has never discussed things with others. For ordinary people, his style was to take away without saying a word. No one dared to say half a no. But the person in front of him is not an ordinary person, which is why General Rose is patiently talking nonsense. We are not enemies, it seems that you have no reason to reject me. General Ross said. I don't seem to have a reason to give Hulk to you. Li Wei sat down on the ruins next to him. Sir, you may not be clear. The army standing in front of you is not an ordinary army. General Ross stared at Li Wei. We also have Hulk. Besides, we have no reason to fight for Hulk. It's not worth it to lose both sides. Both lose out. No, I also want to remind you that the people standing in front of you are not ordinary people. It's best not to put your style on me. If you shoot, you will definitely lose. See Banner. Li Wei looked at Banner lying next to him. The strongest Hulk has been defeated by me. Do you think your Hulk can defeat me? There was silence for nearly a minute. General Rose's face was uncertain, and finally he took the initiative to leave. Indeed, as Li Wei said, this genuine invincible Hulk has been defeated, and the chance of their Hulk defeating Li Wei is pitiful. General Rose had contact with Levi's power at close range, and he knew a little about Levi's power. It was this understanding that made him give up the idea of being an enemy of Li Wei. It is not the time yet. Their Hulk is not invincible, and there is a time limit. Advertisement. Therefore, General Ross did not want to fall out with Li Wei, nor did he want to humiliate himself. He is smart, and smart people generally make smart choices. After boarding the fighter plane, the communication of Director Holloden came over. Hey, Braised Egg, Mr. Nick. Li Wei connected to the communication, and Director Braised Egg appeared on the screen of the fighter. I know that you defeated Hulk and took him away. The first words of the director of the Salted Egg made Li Wei a little surprised. It didn't take long for them to defeat Hulk, S.H.I.E.L.D. actually knew it. It is indeed an agent organization all over the world. I should say that you have great magical powers, or are you great magical powers? Li Wei admitted that this is not a shame. I need Hulk. Director Holloden said solemnly, not long ago, we encountered a powerful enemy we had never seen before. He came from God's domain and took Tesseract away. Although I don't know where his purpose is, I need to retrieve Tesseract. This requires the help of Dr. Banner. Dr. Banner's research in the field of gamma rays is one of the best. Let me guess, Li Wei said, as the enemy Loki. You know, Li Wei's expression on the head of the egg let Li Wei know that he was right. It looks like Loki is here, so the Avengers will also be established. Iron Man will also enter that space portal with a nuclear bomb, causing countless people to cry. Since then, the popularity has risen and become the big three of the Avengers. Definitely, this guy doesn't have a very good temper. I'm afraid it will be bad if he gets angry and smashes my fighter. How should I give this guy to you? Li Wei said. Now my manpower has been assigned, so I can only trouble you to bring Banner here, and I will give you an address. No problem. Li Wei's voice fell, and the night fighter became invisible and disappeared in the air. Advertisement. The other side. A fighter plane is also in flight. Something's wrong. Steve whispered to the Iron Man Tony beside him. Why? This reindeer surrendered too easily. Tony said. I don't think it's that simple. This guy is far stronger than we thought. Steve said. For an elderly person like you, observation is okay. Crack. Just after Tony had finished speaking, there was a sudden thunder in the sky, and silver lightning thundered down. This weather. Where does the lightning come from? The Natasha Romanoff agent who piloted the fighter said puzzledly. Loki looked at the top of the fighter plane. He knew that Thor was coming. So, are you still afraid of lightning? Steve looked at Loki. I just don't like the guy who thunders for a while. Loki said. As soon as the voice fell, the fighter plane shook violently, and it seemed that something hit the fighter plane. Iron Man opened the rear door of the fighter plane and put on his helmet. What are you going to do? Steve asked. Combat. Just as Iron Man finished speaking, a figure appeared on the hatch deck, Thor. Sir, I think you should raise your hand. Iron Man's weapon aimed at Thor. Thor strode forward without saying a word, pushing the hammer against Iron Man's chest, knocking Iron Man to the ground instantly. Thor grabbed Loki by the neck, and the two flew out of the fighter plane and disappeared into the air. This guy is also from God's domain. SHIELD has his information, he is Thor. Natasha Romanoff agent said. Advertisement. Whether this guy releases Loki or kills him, Tesseract is gone. Iron Man stepped forward to chase. Thor, we have to make a battle plan first. When Iron Man was about to chase, Steve stopped him. The plan is to fight. Iron Man flew out of the fighter plane and disappeared into the sky. Captain, these are legendary people, they are basically gods. Natasha Romanoff said. There is only one god in the world, but it won't be that outfit. Steve put a parachute on his back and jumped out of the fighter. Another mountain range. Thor flew down and landed here, and Loki also fell down immediately, hitting the ground hard. Loki, I can feel your evil echo even through most of the world. What's your purpose, my brother? Thor angered. Thor, if you can't guess how clear I send you a message, then I really should doubt if there is a problem with your brain. Loki said. My patience is limited, my brother. Thor grabbed Loki's neck, he knew Loki's character well. Loki is the evil god and the god of tricks. His appearance on the earth will definitely not be a good thing. My purpose is naturally to do a sacred thing. Before Loki's voice, Thor found that Loki in his hand disappeared. Thor, you despise my power too much. Loki appeared behind Thor. The holy battle has just begun. It's true. Loki. Thor threw the hammer Mjolnir to Loki. Loki waved his hand, a transparent light shield blocking him. Bang. Mjolnir smashed these transparent light shields, and these light shields instantly shattered, turning into a burst of light and dissipating in the air. Chapter 133 Chapter 130, You won but I did not lose, seeking subscription. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Thor retracted Mjolnir, and he stepped forward and said, Loki, surrender, otherwise my hammer will hit you next time. The battle has just begun. Thor, I will stay with you to the end. Loki said, and he rushed towards Thor. In an instant, the figure flickered, and countless Loki duplication appeared, rushing towards Thor from all directions. Loki, I've seen enough of your tricks. Thor raised the hammer of Mjolnir. In an instant, the sky flickered. Crack. A bolt of silver lightning thundered down, shaking all Loki out. Thor walked towards Loki, all the phantoms had disappeared, only the real body in front of him. Loki, I have seen through your magic. Thor raised his hammer, thunder bursts in the sky, and silver lightning rushed down Loki. Boom boom boom. The ground burst apart, but Loki's figure disappeared. Thor immediately turned around and saw Loki floating behind him. At this moment, Loki's pupils were scarlet, the surrounding temperature dropped sharply in an instant, and a piece of icy frost appeared on the ground. Loki is the son of Lof, king of the giants of Jotunheim, and the power of ice is born. Thor, you are too arrogant. Even Father King can't fully see through my magic. You will only make me feel ridiculous if you say this. As soon as the voice fell, the ice spears condensed in the air, and as Loki's fingers were under the void spot, they burst at Thor. Brother, haven't seen you for a long time, do you have this strength? The hammer turned in Thor's hand, and the ice spears that had flown over shattered one after another. Advertisement. Boom. Thor rushed towards Loki, slamming hard on Loki. Boom. Surprisingly, Thor's body penetrated directly through Loki's body and rolled around on the ground fiercely. Thor, dare to despise my power. Loki appeared in front of Thor. Thor immediately got up, and the hammer crashed down. Booming, the ground burst and the rubble splashed, but Loki's figure disappeared. Thor, dare to despise my power. Loki appeared behind Thor again, and Thor turned and attacked. Thor, dare to despise my power. Loki's figure disappeared again, appearing in the distance this time. Thor, dare to despise. Thor, dare you, Thor. Suddenly, countless Loki appeared, and their words made Thor feel very annoyed. Enough, Loki. Thor roared, and the hammer Mjolnir hit the ground fiercely. The ground burst and the ground within a few hundred meters of Thor was cracked. Loki, you can only do these little tricks, little tricks. Come out for me, let's have a good fight. Thor looked around, all of Loki's phantoms disappeared, and there was nothing around him. Poor Thor, this is my strength, my battle. I am the god of tricks, Loki. Crack. As soon as Loki's figure appeared, Thor flashed through his body with lightning. It is also a phantom. Get out of here. Thor growled and looked around. Great Thor, you seem to need help. At this moment, Iron Man flew over. Go away, this is my fight with Loki. As soon as Thor finished speaking, he found Iron Man putting his hand on his shoulder. Advertisement. Bold, human. Thor roared, only to find that a chill invaded his body instantly. It's Loki. Thor was taken aback, but it was too late. In an instant, Thor was frozen into an ice sculpture. Thor, do you see through my magic? Loki moved his head close to Thor, and he could clearly see Thor's eyes in the ice sculpture full of anger. How happy it makes him. Boom. Suddenly, the ice sculpture burst, and the resulting shockwave shook Loki out. Thor quickly steps forward, leaning his arm forward, and grabbing Loki's neck. Boom. At the same time, a silver lightning fell from the sky and bombarded the two of them. Loki scorched smoke from his body and fell to his knees. Brother, you failed again. Thor looked at Loki. Do you really think I failed? Loki smiled evilly. You defeated me, but I didn't lose. Our battle is not over yet. On the contrary, this is just the beginning. No matter what your purpose is, Loki, listen. Boom. Before the words fell, a figure rushed forward and knocked Thor out. I'm listening, brother. Loki shrugged. Boom bang bang. Thor smashed into the nearby forest, and he rolled over and got up from the ground. Iron Man flew down and landed in front of him, the weapon aimed at him. You dare to touch me again, and I will let you know how good Mjolnir is. Thor looked at Iron Man, and he raised his hammer. Then you shouldn't grab my things. Iron Man said. Do you know, who are you talking to? Iron Man deliberately looked around. Are you a drama actor? Take care of your business, Tin Man. Loki is from Asgard, and he will definitely be judged by God's domain. Advertisement. As long as he handed over the Rubik's Cube, whatever you want. Before that, it's best not to get in the way, Iron Man said. Thor looked at Iron Man, and the two couldn't agree. Mjolnir broke out and smashed Iron Man out. Okay. Iron Man got up. Thor shook his hammer and rushed towards Iron Man. Iron Man flew to avoid Thor's attack, and a cannonball hit Thor, knocking him to the ground. Then, when Thor got up, Iron Man flew over and kicked Thor out. Thor flew up from the ground and raised his hammer. Crack. The silver lightning rushed down, hitting Iron Man. Iron Man backed back again and again. His armor was destroyed by lightning crazily, but it also brought him unexpected surprises. The energy reaches 400%. Jarvis said. How could this be? Iron Man was surprised, and he stepped forward, energy blasting on Thor. Thor turned over in the air, and fell on the ground to fly back again and again to release the energy. At the same time, Thor and Iron Man both rushed towards each other, and the two rushed high into the air, rushing towards the distance, and hitting the mountain wall. Iron Man punched Thor on the door, Thor kicked his legs on the wall, and the two of them rushed down towards the ground. Boom. The two rushed to the ground, knocking down countless towering trees. Iron Man got up, punched Thor, but Thor pinched his arm. Thor's force was infinite, and Iron Man's arm sank. Iron Man was startled, and the cannonball in his palm hit Thor's head. Iron Man grabbed Thor, and the steel head hit Thor hard on his head. Thor was completely unaffected, and his head hit Iron Man's head. With a clam, Iron Man was knocked out. The two rushed towards each other again, fighting each other. Stop it. At this moment, a voice rang. Chapter 134 Chapter 131 Open black lens bracket cube super weapon close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. When Iron Man and Thor were fighting, a shield flew over and hit them, preventing the two from fighting. Stop it. Captain Steve walked towards the two of them. He looked at Thor. What is your purpose here? Stop Loki's conspiracy. You can't deal with him, Thor said. Then our purpose is the same, to prove your sincerity and put down your hammer. Captain Steve said. Captain, this is not a good idea, he loves his hammer so much. Boom. As soon as Iron Man finished speaking, Thor threw him out with his backhand. Do you want me to put down my hammer? Thor is extremely angry. Even when he was fighting with Loki, he didn't feel very angry. For a soldier, laying down his weapon in front of the enemy means surrendering. Thor will never surrender to the enemy. Thor dashed towards Steve, then flew up, hitting Steve with a hammer. Boom. Mjolnir slammed on Captain Steve's shield. First, Kang, and then there was a deafening roar. A violent wind pressure swept around, and the trees fell one after another. The three of them got up from the ground in embarrassment. The surroundings have been razed to the ground by this shockwave. Enough trouble. The arrival of the shield floating carrier, Li Wei was personally greeted by the director of the Egg. Behind him there are Phil Coulson agent and Daisy agent. Good comrades. Comrades have worked hard. Li Wei waved to several people. Advertisement. Quote. Director of Marinated Egg. Quote. Phil Coulson agent. Quote. Daisy agent. Although I have seen this suspended helicarrier countless times in the movie, walking on it personally makes the senses different. Introduce you. These are my two companions. Li Wei looked at Eddie behind him. This is Venom. This is the Lightning Spider-Man. Levi pointed to Miles, both dressed as heroes. He seems to have become different. The director of the Eggs looked at Miles, who had acted as a Spider-Man for too short a time, and he had not become famous enough that the director of the Eggs wanted to investigate him. You should be talking about the magical Spider-Man. This is another Spider-Man, the Lightning Spider-Man. Li Wei said. In order to distinguish between the four Spider-Men, Peter's name is Magic Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen is Ghost Spider, Miles is Lightning Spider-Man, and Cindy is Cobweb. They are all unique, and so is this guy. Director Holloden looked at Eddie. In order not to reveal his identity, Eddie had been kept in a venom state, just like a burly black monster. At this time, a fighter plane landed slowly. It just so happens that they are here too. Following the words of Director Luden, several figures emerged from the fighter plane. Natasha Romanoff agent, Captain Steve, Iron Man Tony, Thor, and the captured god of tricks Loki. Lee, I didn't expect us to meet again so soon. Thor saw Li Wei, and he immediately became enthusiastic. Unlike other mortals, Levi has fought side by side with Thor. He even picked up Mjolnir, whose strength has been recognized by Thor. After a brief understanding, all of them, except for Li Wei, were finally persuaded by Director Nick to form a team together to face the war brought by Loki. Although Loki is now imprisoned on the helicarrier, everyone knows, especially Thor knows, that Loki will definitely have a second hand. Advertisement. Loki is the god of tricks, one of the top magicians in the 9 realms. I was caught so easily, not to mention that Thor didn't believe it, even Director Nick and all of them didn't believe it. At least SHIELD's Barton agent is still under Loki's control, and Dr. Eric is also under his control. S.H.I.E.L.D. knows nothing about where they are currently. In the end, Loki's conspiracy surfaced. He wanted to provoke the contradictions of everyone, and make everyone fight inwardly. Once the seed of doubt is planted, it will be hidden in the hearts of everyone, slowly drawing nutrients until it germinates. Even though they knew that this was Loki's conspiracy, everyone was still affected, and suspicion had taken root in everyone's hearts. Although Captain Steve and Iron Man Tony have met several times, this is the first time they have met so close. Main control. Sir, come and see this. An agent called Nick Fury. He looked at the computer screen, which showed that someone wanted to view the confidential information of S.H.I.E.L.D. without permission. Nick frowned, and the IP address shown above let him know who was viewing the confidential information. Nick walked out of the main control room, and he came to where Banner and Tony Stark worked. What are you doing, Mr. Stark? I was just about to ask you this question. Tony said. You should find a way to find the position of the Rubik's Cube. Nick said. Think about it, the signal has been locked. Banner said, I am searching for the gamma ray marker. After finding it, I will lock the target within half a mile. You will be able to get your Rubik's Cube later, don't worry. Tony said. At this time, His computer had broken through the shield permission blockade, and some information appeared on his computer. Tony is a weapon expert, and he can tell at a glance that this is the manufacturing data of a certain weapon. Judging from these data, it seems that the lethality of this weapon is not small. Advertisement. What is the second stage? Tony looked at Nick. The second stage is that SHIELD uses Rubik's Cube to make weapons. At this moment, Captain Steve walked in, still holding the unfinished second stage weapon in his hand. All three looked at Commander Nick. Gentlemen, we collect everything related to Rubik's Cube. Nick Fury explained, but it doesn't mean we are making it. Come on, Nick, don't quibble. Tony pulled the data on the computer into the air, and it showed that the weapon was being manufactured, and the research could be completed by providing energy from the Rubik's Cube. I was wrong, Commander. The world hasn't changed at all. Captain Steve said disappointedly. At this time, Li Wei walked in eating fruit, Thor and Natasha Romanoff agent beside him. You asked me to come here to find the Rubik's Cube, but I need an explanation as to why your shield is using the Rubik's Cube to make weapons of mass destruction. Banner looked at the data on the computer. Because of him. Director Nick pointed to Li Wei. Me. The fruit in Li Wei's hand almost fell to the ground, and then he realized that Nick was referring to Thor behind him. Me. Thor was calm, but he didn't know why. Last year the Earth ushered in an alien visitor. Some of his personal grievances almost caused a small town to be razed to the ground. Nick said. So, we learned that not only are there other beings in the universe, they are also stronger, much more advanced than us. We, Asgard, have no malice against the Earth. We have even been protecting the Earth all the time. Thor said. Chapter 135 Chapter 132, This distance is either a kiss or a fight. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. But you are not the only ones in the universe. Nick looked at Thor. You are not the only threat. There are many people in this world who cannot find their opponents. They will not be controlled by others, so it is very likely that they will cause trouble. You know, if a powerful person like you creates chaos, this kind of mess is very difficult to clean up. Like you control the Rubik's Cube. Steve interrupted Nick. It is because of your research on Rubik's Cube that Loki was attracted. Thor said. For other planets, this is a signal that you people on Earth are ready for high-level warfare. You will be attracted by this. More powerful enemies. High-level war. You took the lead, we have to have an emergency. Nick said. Like nuclear deterrence. Tony interrupted Nick. This trick calms everything down. Director Nick spoke to the Confucianists. He turned to look at Tony and said, Then you are talking about, Mr. Stark, how did you make your fortune? Your Stark Industry is the world's largest weapon manufacturer. Not anymore. Tony said. If he was still making weapons, he would definitely not let us know. Steve said. Wait, why did the spear point at me again? Tony stepped forward. Isn't it always facing you? I thought the people on Earth could be more civilized, Thor said. We didn't go to your planet to do anything wrong. Nick looked at Thor. You have so little confidence in your teammates and allies. Thor said. You people are really naive. Natasha Romanoff looked at the people who were about to fight Red. SHIELD is just monitoring potential threats. It turns out that the heroic Captain America is also a potential threat. Banner folded his hands in front of his chest. Are we all? Banner did not forget what Loki said, that the big cage made by SHIELD was originally used to keep him. Advertisement. It looks like you are on the list. Are you ranked before or after the Angry Bees? Stark, listen, if your mouth is nasty again. Intimidation. Naked intimidation. I was threatened. Please be respectful. Respect what? Suddenly, all the people present, except Li Wei, who was calmly eating fruit, were all blushing, as if they were about to fight. Li Wei also showed no signs of dissuasion, and looked at everyone with interest. Anyway, in the end they will change their minds and deal with Loki's threat together. No one knew that beside the SHIELD helicarrier, a fighter plane was slowly approaching. Cargo ship 66B, there is your information on the computer. But without your voyage record, what kind of cargo you are transporting, that's it. On the fighter plane, an inquiry from helicarrier sounded. Weapons and ammunition, over. The pilot said. On the fighter plane, a group of elite soldiers are preparing to launch an attack on the SHIELD helicarrier. Hawkeye is among them. Helicarrier. You said you want order, it's not a mess now, Thor said. This is his management method. Banner said, are we a team? I don't think that if we mix together, we will only create chaos, like a time bomb. You should calm down, Dr. Banner. Nick looked at Banner. Why can't a man vent properly? Tony added fuel and jealousy to the side. Advertisement. Are you afraid there will be no chaos? Mr. Stark, I think you should go away. Steve said. I want to see how you let me go. Yeah, be a hero by hiding in armor. Steve looked at Tony. What are you without armor? A genius, a millionaire, a playboy, a philanthropist. Tony scrambled. A lot of people who are nothing, 10 times better than you, I have seen more. Steve stared at Tony and said, "You will only work hard for yourself. You are definitely not the kind of person who can sacrifice himself. You are definitely not the kind of person who lays on the wire fence and lets your comrades pass by yourself. I think the barbed wire should be cut short." Steve smiled disdainfully. "You always have crooked ideas. Maybe you are not a threat, but you better not think of yourself as a hero. Hero, like you. You are just an experiment, Rogers. All your abilities come from a small bottle." The two looked at each other. "This distance is not to fight or to kiss," Li Wei said suddenly from the side. "Put on your armor and we'll be singled out." Steve stared at Tony and said, "Ha ha ha, you guys are so stingy, so stingy." Thor laughed from the side. "Yes, this is the team," Banner said. "Natasha Romanoff agent, please take Dr. Banner to his my room. Didn't you lend it to Loki?" Banner interrupted Nick. "Dr. Banner, that's just in case. In case you need to kill me, that's impossible, I know, I tried it." Banner interrupted Nick again. "I was disappointed because I couldn't see the future. So I fired a shot at myself, but the other one spit out the bullet. Advertisement. I try to help others, but I can't. Until you brought me to this freak team and put everyone in danger, do you know my secret? Do you want to know how I stayed calm?" Dr. Banner. Nick stared at Banner, his hand on the pistol on his trouser leg. "Put that thing down." Banner looked into his hand. Loki's scepter had been held by him for some time. Just when the atmosphere was extremely tense, the computer rang. "Found it. It's the Rubik's Cube. It has been positioned to the Rubik's Cube." Banner walked over. "Tesseract belongs to the realm of God, humans cannot control it," Thor said. Boom. At this time, the helicarrier suddenly vibrated violently, and the side of this room exploded, and everyone was shocked to retreat. Nick flew out directly, the ground was overturned, Natasha Romanoff agent and Banner fell down. "Hill, what happened?" Nick connected the Hill agent communication. "There was an explosion outside, the number 3 engine stopped running, and we were attacked." "Can it be repaired?" Nick asked. "The turbo is basically fine, but as long as we are still in the flight, it is impossible to send someone out to make repairs. We have to send someone to fix it. If the other engine is also damaged, we will fall." "I'll fix it," Tony said at this moment. "Phil Coulson agent, open the defensive blockade in the enclosed area. Then go to the armory." Natasha Romanoff agent, "I'm fine." At this moment, Natasha Romanoff and Banner fell into the lower floor, and she was already pinched by the falling machine on one leg. And Banner, being attacked inexplicably, he felt that Hulk seemed to be coming out. Chapter 136 Chapter 133 We Have Hulk. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. "Dr. Banner, you have to hold on, or you will hit Loki in his arms. We will be fine. Listen, I use my life guarantee, and I will definitely take you out." "Ah!" Banner roared. Half of his face turned green, his shirt was torn apart, and his muscles began to bulge. "Relax, Banner, we'll be all right." Roar. Banner let out a deafening roar, completely turning into Hulk. The Natasha Romanoff agent struggled to pull out the calf that was under the machine. This guy became Hulk. Hulk is not Banner. It doesn't speak to her in the usual tone like Banner. Roar. Sure enough, an angry Hulk rushed towards Natasha Romanoff. Natasha Romanoff rushed up the stairs quickly, and Hulk followed. As if the stairs were torn down, Natasha Romanoff fell down. Hulk grabbed Natasha Romanoff's calf, threw it forward, and smashed it into a bunch of machines. Natasha Romanoff snorted. Even if she was passing through the strengthening body, it was uncomfortable. The angry Hulk continued to rush towards Natasha Romanoff. Natasha Romanoff was startled, and she rolled on the ground to avoid Hulk's attack. With a loud bang, Hulk's fist smashed the steel ground into a hollow. Hulk stepped forward quickly and knocked Natasha Romanoff away with a backhand punch. "Oh!" Hulk roared and rushed forward, his fist smashed towards Natasha Romanoff. A trace of red blood leaked from the corner of Natasha Romanoff's mouth, trying to avoid Hulk's attack, but it was too late. Just as Hulk's fist fell, Natasha Romanoff saw a figure appear in front of her. It's Li Wei. Li Wei stretched out his hand to block Hulk's fist. A terrifying force came, and the ground broke with a bang, and Li Wei, Natasha Romanoff and Hulk fell into the next floor. Advertisement. Even if he was beaten by Li Wei in Johannesburg, Hulk was still not afraid of Li Wei, and even roared and attacked like Li Wei. Boom bang bang. Hulk hit several punches in a row, all of which were blocked by Li Wei. Li Wei jumped up and hit Hulk's head with a punch, knocking Hulk to the ground. Hulk roared and got up from the ground, and Li Wei's fist bombarded Hulk's head again. Boom. Hulk hit the ground hard, smashing a big hole in the ground, and it fell. Li Weifei went down, but Hulk yelled and grabbed his calf and smashed it down on the ground. Boom boom boom. The thick steel floor showed dense cracks. The floor cracked, and Li Wei and Hulk smashed into the next floor. Roar. Hulk roared, his fist blasted towards Li Wei's head. Li Wei slapped his palm on the ground, and while avoiding Hulk's attack, he stood up in the air and knocked Hulk to the ground with a punch. Boom. The terrifying force directly cracked the ground. Roar roar. The wind whispered roar. This is the last layer of the helicarrier. Li Wei and Hulk fell directly from the hole. Li Wei's toes were a little bit in the air and wanted to fly onto the helicarrier, but Hulk grabbed his calf, and the two fell together. Roar. Hulk roared and punched Li Wei, and the two of them fought together in the air. Dot 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 dot. Boom. A deafening roar resounded through the sky, and dust and smoke swept out everywhere. The dust is filled with smoke, and a figure stands tall. Bah, bah. Li Wei walked out after the smoke cleared. In the deep pit behind him, Banner, who had recovered, lay in it and fainted. Li Wei knew that it was not time to rest. Since the shield helicarrier was attacked, Loki should have escaped. Now, Loki is estimated to be in the process of heading to the Stark building. Advertisement. Before long, Tesseract will open the portal, the army of Charitas will come to Earth, and the war will begin. He didn't want to miss this battle. Dr. Banner, the sun is tanning, so I can't sleep anymore. Li Wei walked over and shouted, and Banner woke up dizzy. Dr. Banner, do you remember what happened just now? Li Wei asked. Banner shook his head. There is a little impression. The vague fragments let Banner know that the guy in front of him, even the invincible Hulk, was scared by him. Then let's go, the war is about to begin. Li Wei said. Dot 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 dot. Stark building. Dr. Eric has set up the Rubik's Cube teleporter here, and Tesseract is constantly supplying energy to the teleporter. After studying Tesseract for so long, it is finally time to show its power today. Dr. Eric is looking forward to it, this is definitely a new field. Tesseract will show him a new and unknown world. In the distance, a figure leapt forward. Close it, Dr. Eric. Iron Man said, floating in the air. It's too late. Dr. Eric yelled, once Tesseract starts, it can't stop. It will show us a whole new world, a whole new universe. Dr. Eric said excitedly. In that case, I will destroy it if I can't close it. Iron Man's weapon aimed at the teleportation machine, and the energy cannon hit Tesseract with a bang. Boom. With a deafening roar, an energy shield emerged from Tesseract, blocking the Iron Man's attack. Not only that, but also bounced Iron Man's attack back. That's pure energy composition and cannot penetrate. Jarvis said. Advertisement. Yeah, I found out. Now execute Plan B, Tony said. Sir, the Mark 7 is not ready for actual combat. Jarvis reminded. Then leave it alone, we are short on time. Tony said. Tony flew to the front desk of the building, where there was a device for dismantling the steel armor. After the steel armor was unloaded, Tony walked into the hall, and Loki was standing in front of the glass overlooking the city below. You are here to beg me to be more kind to you. Loki stood up with his hands behind and said to Tony. Actually, I'm here to threaten you. Tony said. Then you should at least wear armor. Loki looked at Tony. Yeah, unfortunately it's not easy to use. And you still have that bright staff. Tony walked to the resting position, a drink. Procrastination won't save you, Loki said. No, it's a threat. Tony said, are you really not having a drink? Then I'll drink it myself. Threat. Tesseract will be able to open the portal soon, my army will be there soon, and you are finished. What am I afraid of? Avengers. Tony poured himself a glass of wine. We call Roar himself as a team. The League of the Strongest Heroes in the World. Yes, I've seen it before. Loki laughed mockingly. He just made a small trick to turn these stupid humans back. Let me count the heads for you, your brother, that little handsome boy. Superhero, an immortal legend that lives up to fame. A big guy who has a bad temper and kills, and a pair of elite killers. Chapter 137, Chapter 134. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Dot 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 dot. Besides, there are a group of real monsters. Because of your plan, you let their boss fall off the spaceship, and they will come to you. And you, hapless. You have annoyed each of them. Loki laughed mockingly. This is exactly my plan. It's a bad plan, they will all come to you. Tony said. I have an army. We have Hulk. I think that monster is lost now. You still haven't figured out the situation. You will never be on the throne. There is no possibility that you will succeed. Maybe your army is back, and we may not be able to fight, but we will all come to you. If the Earth is lost, we will all come to you for revenge. Really, it's just a mob. You think the great god Loki is afraid of it? Loki walked to Tony, and the energy scepter tapped Tony's chest, but then he realized that it seemed useless. Loki was puzzled. He pointed the scepter on Tony's chest again, but it was still useless. Impossible. Scepter has never made a mistake. It's unavoidable to play abnormally. Before Tony's words were finished, Loki grabbed Tony by the neck and threw him out. Jarvis, what are you waiting for? Tony said, start. You will all kneel in front of us one by one. In this sacred war, the winner will only be me. Loki stepped forward to grab Tony and threw him down the building. Jarvis, start quickly. Advertisement. Boom. The Mark 7 steel battle suit rushed out and flew towards Tony. Good job. The steel battle suit closed on Tony. Iron Man, start. Tony flew up. You also offended someone, Phil Coulson agent. Tony came to Loki and shot Loki out in one shot. At this moment, the Rubik's Cube teleporter emitted a burst of energy, rushing towards the sky. Under the energy of Tesseract, a huge amounts of karst cave appeared in the sky, and the army of the Zeta Rising people appeared densely. Iron Man flew up, and a shell shot down a Charita star. Shoo shoo, lasers blasted Iron Man away, knocking him out. As more Charita stars rushed out of the portal, countless Charita flight cavalry chased Iron Man. Just try the Mark 7 weapon. Iron Man flew in the air, and he turned to look at the chasers behind him, his weapon locked them, and then fired. Boom. One by one Charita flight cavalry was shot down. In the flames, more Charita flight cavalry rushed out towards the Iron Man. Rainbow Island. Everyone, the boss just came to the news. Heroes Association, prepare to fight. In front of Peter, there are Max, Sandman Mark, and Green Goblin Harry. Osborn. Li Wei has told Peter a simple message that the war Loki brought this time will be a war that threatens mankind. Stark Building. Advertisement. Loki looked down at the city below, and Charita's army had already begun to enter the city. Soon, this city will belong to him. Loki smiled evilly at the corner of his mouth, and it won't be long before he can become the king of the earth. Master Loki. At this time, countless Charita stars appeared in the Stark Building. The three leading Charitas are different from the others. These three guys are about 3 or 4 meters tall, and the heavy armor makes these three guys look unusually burly. Go, kill that guy. Loki's gaze turned to the Iron Man flying in the air. It's easy. After speaking, a burly Charita star flew toward the Iron Man, and a large number of Charita army followed closely behind it. Tony, we are on your right. Natasha Romanoff agent's voice echoed in Iron Man's communication. Did you come here in a bullock cart? Go to Parker Street and I will lead them over. Boom. As soon as the voice fell, a figure appeared above Tony. What followed was an energy cannon impacting Tony, and Tony fell straight from the air. When he was about to hit the ground, Tony leapt up and hovered in the air. Above, a burly Charita star was floating. The weapon system is turned on, aimed, and fired. Whoosh. Micro missiles were launched towards the burly Charita. Boom boom boom. The Charita star was extremely fast, circled in the air to avoid the micro missile, then rushed towards Tony, hit Tony's chest with a punch, and Tony fell towards the ground. Tony had just got up from the ground, and the burly Charita had already come to him and knocked Tony to the ground with a punch. Die, little bug. The burly Charita star stomped heavily. Boom. The ground burst, and Tony rolled and fisted on the ground, avoiding Charita's attack. His palm sent an energy cannon to Charita's chest, blasting it out. Advertisement. Tony flew over, bombarding the burly Charita with the energy of his palm. The damn it is you. The tiny missile on Tony's shoulder aimed at the burly Charita. Boom. Suddenly, a wave of energy blasted Tony's body, shaking Tony away. Sir, more enemies are coming here. Jarvis's voice sounded. Shoo. One after another, the miniature missiles were shot out, and the Charitas flying in the air were shot down. Tony flew into the air, only to find that the burly Charita grabbed his calf and smashed him to the ground. Boom. The burly Charita stepped on Tony. The system obviously let Tony know that the steel battlesuit was damaged. Boom. Tony bombarded the burly Charita with an energy cannon. He flew up, and missiles rushed towards the Charita. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, this burly Charita was drowned in the flames. Jarvis, find me his weakness. Tony said. It has an energy source in its chest. This energy source provides a function to his whole body. If this energy source is destroyed, it may be destroyed. Possible. Boom. As soon as the voice fell, the burly Charita star came out of the fire and rushed towards Tony. Bang. The Charita star hit Tony with a punch, and Tony took a step back and hit the Charita star with a punch in the chest. The Charita star came forward and grabbed Tony. Its chest began to gather energy and bombarded Tony. Tony flew backwards like a cannonball, hitting the ground heavily. The steel battlesuit flickered, and the data given to Tony by JARVIS showed that the steel battlesuit was seriously damaged. At this moment, the burly Cherita star flew towards Tony. Chapter 138, Chapter 135. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Rumble. As Tony fell to the ground, a burst of shells covered him. The big explosion threw Tony out, the steel battlesuit was severely damaged, the engine ejected flames, and Tony flew into the air again. After making a circle in the air, Tony came to the sky above the burly Cherita. He rushed towards the Cherita. The two robots fought together in the air and slammed into the ground fiercely. Tony flew up, and when the burly Cherita got up, the energy from his palm hit its head, knocking the Cherita to the ground. Aim at its energy source. Tony said. A miniature missile hit the energy source in Cherita's chest. Boom. With an explosion, the light in the eyes of this burly Cherita went out. JARVIS, did you kill it? Tony asked. Its energy source has stopped operating. Very good. Tony flew into the air. Yeah. At this moment, the sound behind him startled Tony. He immediately turned around and aimed his weapon at the sound source. It turned out that the street lamp on the side of the road fell down. At the foot of the Stark building, Captain Steve is bringing the Natasha Romanoff agent and Hawkeye Barton to fight the Cherita's ground troops. Boom. Captain Steve dashed forward, the shield waved, knocking a Cherita star to the ground, and the shield smashed down on the Cherita star. With a click, the head of the Cherita star burst into sparks, and the light in his eyes disappeared. Boom boom boom. As the shield waved, the Cheritas fell one by one. Crack. Suddenly, lightning bolts from the sky, and countless Cherita stars were knocked down. Advertisement. With the lightning, there was Thor. What's the situation above? Captain Steve asked. Can't penetrate the energy around Tesseract. Thor said. He's right, we have to deal with these guys first. Iron Man flew through the air. Should we do this? Natasha Romanoff said. Teamwork. Loki and I still have accounts that haven't been settled, Thor said. Really? Then you have to line up. Barton said. Loki will definitely concentrate all his forces to deal with us, get rid of him, and they will be messy. Tony is in the sky, he will need us. Do. At this moment, Banner rode over on a scooter. It looks bad. Banner walked to several people. I've seen worse. Natasha Romanoff said. Tony, we found Banner. Captain Steve contacted Tony. Get him ready, Mad Roar is about to start. Tony said in the sky, behind him, a huge amounts of monster followed. The monster tamed by the Cherita star is like a huge amounts of whale, draped in layers of heavy armor. Boom. The huge alien monster crashed a building and followed Tony closely. I don't think this will be a carnival. Natasha Romanoff said, looking at the huge amounts of alien monsters. Banner knew that it was time for him to play, and he walked in the direction where the Cherita monster rushed. Dr. Banner. Steve stopped Banner. Now is a good time for you to get angry. Advertisement. Tell you a secret, Captain, I have been very angry. Banner said as he walked. At this time, the Cherita monster had already arrived in front of him. Roar. Banner roared, transformed into Hulk, and hit the head of the Cherita monster with a punch. Boom. The huge alien monster stopped. Hold on, Banner. Tony flew in the air, and countless miniature missiles flew towards the Cherita monster. Boom. The monster was blown into two pieces, and its head rolled down on the street. Avengers, rally. All out. Loki ordered at the Stark building. Immediately, countless Cherita troops flew out of the portal. Everyone, they are here. Natasha Romanoff said under the building. Following Natasha Romanoff's words, everyone looked up and saw a Cherita alien monster that had been defeated by Hulk just now appeared, rushing towards them. Hissing. At this moment, the electric light was flourishing, and the blue electric current filled the surroundings, thundering towards the Cherita alien monster in the front. Boom. The Cherita alien monster hit by the electric current wailed and slammed into the ground. The blue electric current pervading the surroundings converged, and a group of human-shaped lightning appeared on the body of the alien monster. The electro-optical man is suspended in the air, his hands are placed in front of his chest, and there is a burst of electric light in his eyes. Wow. A voice sounded, and the Spider-Man flew between the buildings. Cobweb shot out, swaying Cobweb, and Spider-Man flew down and landed next to the Electric Man. Then, a gust of wind swept across, and Mark Sandman gathered beside Spider-Man. Whoosh. A figure flew across the sky quickly, and Green Goblin Harry Osborn also appeared, levitating in the air on a flight skateboard. In front of the heads of the alien monsters where the four were standing, Levy, Lightning Spider-Man Miles, and Venom Eddie also appeared. Advertisement. All members of the Heroes Association are here. Order, Captain. Tony said. Listen well, we need to contain them before closing the portal. Steve looked at the constantly alien legion in the portal. Barton, you go up to the building and find out the path of those guys. Tony, you stay on your ground. Any enemy close to these 3 streets will force them to retreat, or they will burn to ashes. Can you give me a ride? Hawkeye looked at Tony. Hold on, be careful not to fall. Tony and Barton flew up into the sky. Thor, you have to find a way to block the portals and drag them. You can summon lightning and burn them completely. Steve looked at Thor. Thor turned the hammer in his hand and slammed into the sky with a shoo. Captain Steve looked at the Natasha Romanoff agent. You and we both have to control the battlefield on the ground. Hulk. Steve looked at the last Hulk. It's up to you. Hulk kicked on the ground and jumped up to a building several hundred meters away. He punched the Charita star who was climbing on the wall of the building, and then flew to the other side, punching a child. Everyone. Li Wei looked at everyone in the Heroes Association. The battle has begun. After finishing speaking, Li Wei kicked his legs on the ground, leapt hundreds of meters into the air with a bang, and shot down a Charita flight cavalry with a punch. With your toes in the air a little bit, the whole person leapt forward again, and 1 Charita flight cavalry fell from the air. At this time, Li Wei looked forward, and a huge monster appeared in his field of vision. Li Wei tipped his toes in the air and rushed towards the Charita alien monster. A violent sonic boom sounded, and Li Wei punched the head of the Charita monster. Boom. A roar sounded, and the body of this behemoth exploded in the air, fragmented and scattered. Chapter 139 Chapter 136 Only Hulk can deal with it. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. A figure flew past Li Wei. It was Thor. Thor leapt to the top of a building, and he raised the hammer of Mjolnir. Suddenly the wind and clouds changed color, and a large number of dark clouds gathered in the sky, and thunder and lightning struck them down, connecting his hammer. Crack. Immediately, Thor slammed his hammer out, and dense lightning burst out towards the surroundings, and Charitas were shot down one by one. Thor again shook the hammer of Mjolnir, and the thick silver lightning thundered towards the teleporters, and a large number of Charita legions were destroyed at the entrance. Hiss. The electric light shouted loudly, lightning bolts burst out, and shot down the Charita flight cavalry in the air one by one. Thor looked down, and he could easily sense that it was not his lightning. That is a guy who emits electric current all over his body. When this guy shot down the Charita alien monster with lightning, Thor paid attention to him. Max, the electric light man, turned into a lightning strike, and appeared beside Thor. He waved his hands, dense lightning rushed towards the surroundings, and Charita flight cavalry was destroyed in the air. Hey, Mr. Thor, I heard you are the god of thunder. Dianguang said. Definitely, your little lightning is not worth mentioning to me. For the thunder and lightning field, Thor will not be weaker than anyone. So, can you lend me your lightning? Dianguang said. Summon your lightning and strike me. Are you serious? Thor looked at Dianguang. Definitely, lightning can give me strength. Okay. Thor nodded, and the hammer, Mjolnir raised, and there was a thunderous sound in the sky. Advertisement. Then, a silver lightning bolt thundered down and bombarded the electric man. Hiss. As the silver lightning continued to hit the electro-optical man constantly, the electro-optical man's pupils burst out with electric light, and he felt his whole body full of power. Ah! The electric guy roared, and he stretched out his hands, and thick silver lightning shot out towards the surroundings. It feels great. The electric light man was suspended in the air. With the cooperation of the two, a large number of Charitas were shot down in the air. For electro-optical people, Thor is simply a mobile high-efficiency power supply. He can unscrupulously release his power, and when his power is used up, Thor summons lightning and thunders down to give him power again. Tony, there are a lot of scumbags behind you. On the building, Hawkeye Barton stands here. He quickly opened the compound bow, and shot one arrow out, and shot down one after another Charita flight cavalry. Take an arrow, shoot a bow, and shoot it all in one go. The arrows are as fast as lightning, and the sights are shot in every possible direction. Between the buildings, Tony was flying, and behind him was a slice of Charita stars. I'm trying to get rid of them. Tony said. Their steering is very poor. Find a sharp turn and you can get rid of a lot of them. Hawkeye's voice came. Excellent. Received. Tony took these Charitas for a few laps. As Hawkeye said, these Charitas turned poorly. After several consecutive sharp turns, a large number of Charitas hit the building. Come on. Tony took the Charitas into the narrow passage, and one Charitas crashed one after another. Advertisement. At this time, energy bullets shot towards Tony. Behind Tony, a large number of Charitas appeared. Whoosh. With the harsh sound, one after another micro missiles shot at these Charitas. Boom. As the big explosion sounded, the flames soared to the sky, and a figure rushed out. Green Goblin Harry Osborn. Hello, Iron Man, if you don't want to be surrounded by these guys, I suggest you run faster. As soon as Harry's voice fell, he turned into a dark shadow and passed by Tony. Then, the densely packed Charita star rushed towards Tony. Whoosh! A dense array of energy bullets hit the sky. Damn it! Tony turned and ran. Boom! At this time, there was a boom, a building was dumped, and a huge monster appeared in front of Iron Man and Green Goblin Harry. This guy needs Hulk to solve it. Tony said. Hulk. It's a big guy with infinite power, able to lift a tank easily. Only Hulk can deal with it. Tony said. It's not necessarily. As soon as Harry's voice fell, a gust of sand filled the area around the Charita monster, forming a sand giant with a height of more than 10 meters. The sand giant stretched out his hands to embrace the behemoth, and then the two monsters fell from the sky together. The sand gathered frantically, and the sand giant's body swelled with a punch, reaching a height of several tens of meters. Advertisement. The sand giant roared and hit the Charita monster's head with a punch. The ground burst and the Charita monster howled. Boom boom boom. As the sand giant slammed punch after punch, the head of the Charita monster squashed. Whoosh! A series of energy bullets hit the sand giant, and the dense Charita stars surrounded the sand giant. The sand giant smashed out with a fist, and suddenly a scream sounded, and a piece of Charita star was smashed into flesh. The yellow sand that permeated the surroundings gathered, and the arm of the giant sand formed a long sword about 10 meters long, and it swept towards the Charita star, and smashed it directly and violently. At this time, another huge Charita monster rushed towards the sand giant. The giant sand stepped forward, and a bang 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 sound rang out on the ground. The sand giant's arm turned into a huge amounts of warhammer, and it slammed on the head of the Charita monster, and the huge monster slammed into the ground. Boom! Although the Charita monster was blocked by the sand giant, the subsequent buffer force crashed the sand giant's body and collapsed, and the Charita monster rushed out dozens of meters on the street before stopping. Boom boom boom. The sand giants gathered again and walked towards the Charita monster. His arm turned into a giant sword, directly piercing the head of the Charita monster. The other side. The Natasha Romanoff agent was fighting with a Charita star. She rushed forward and punched the Charita soldier on the cheek. The Charita star soldier only slanted his head slightly and was not affected at all. He raised his spear and fired at Natasha Romanoff. Natasha Romanoff flexibly avoided the attack of the Charitas, swept the Charitas to the ground with a sweep of his legs, and picked up the weapons on the ground to shoot at the heads of the Charitas. Boom! The head of the Charita star soldier exploded directly. At this moment, a figure flew past Natasha Romanoff, knocking down several Charita soldiers in front of her. After Spider-Man knocked down the Charita soldiers who had besieged Natasha Romanoff, he leapt up and flew between the buildings. Chapter 140 Chapter 137. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Boom boom boom. Energy bullets shot towards Natasha Romanoff. She rolled around on the ground. The weapon was aimed at the Charita soldiers in front, and then shot. Boom. Several Charita soldiers fell down. Natasha Romanoff quickly leaned on a car. She was always just a stronger agent than ordinary people, and there was still a lot of gap between the monsters present. Are you okay? Captain Steve walked over. Boom boom boom. Shield was thrown out by Steve, and after knocking down a few Charita soldiers, he flew back to Steve very metaphysically. I'm fine, but if the portal is not closed, these aliens will still appear constantly. Natasha Romanoff looked at the portal in the sky. At this moment, a dense cluster of Charita soldiers appeared in front of them. Stop these guys first. Steve waited. He picked up the alien spear on the ground and shot it at the Charita star in front. Boom boom boom. The gunfire sounded, and Charita soldiers fell one by one. Although Steve likes close combat, his marksmanship is not bad, it can even be said to be excellent. What's wrong? Surprised. Steve looked at Natasha Romanoff beside him. No, it was just an accident. Natasha Romanoff also raised his spear, an energy bullet hit it out, and Charita soldiers fell on the way forward. Although Captain Steve and the Natasha Romanoff agent struggled to resist, there were a large number of Charita stars, and the next batch of them would come up, and they were slowly advancing towards them. Boom. At this moment, a black figure leapt over Steve and jumped into the center of the Charita star. Roar. The Venom roared, and dashed forward, knocking a Charita soldier to the ground with one punch. Advertisement. It rushed into the heavy encirclement of Charita stars, slammed its fists, one punch, two punches, three punches, and Charita stars one after another was knocked down by it. Venom roared, raised the car next to it, and threw it towards the Charita starman. Lightning Spider-Man Miles swung the cobweb, leapt in the air, kicking a Charita soldier out of the sky. Swinging cobweb, Miles flew down and knocked a Charita soldier to the ground with a punch. When the enemy attacked Miles, his figure disappeared suddenly. When they reappeared, one by one Cherita was defeated by Miles. Using the invisible ability, Miles seemed to be in an uninhabited state, and Cheritas fell under his attack one by one. As the first time to participate in a team battle like the Heroes Association, Miles was quite excited. Watching Li Wei punch an alien monster in the sky, watching the lightning bolts on the building, watching the sand giants invincible on the ground, watching the Spider-Man flying in the air, Miles was very excited. He wants to prove his ability. He is also a member of the Heroes Association. Like everyone else, he is a hero worshipped by the citizens of New York City. Just as Miles was thinking about it, he was surrounded by countless Cherita soldiers in the center, and the dense gunfire instantly covered him. Although Miles is quite mature for a 14-year-old boy, his combat experience is still very small. In the past, the most powerful enemy was Spider-Man Peter Parker stood in front of him. He always defeated the enemy easily. His enemies are just ordinary gangs, ordinary people. Even if it is a dangerous spider killer, Peter Parker will not let him face it alone. At this moment, facing so many Cherita soldiers, as long as there is a slight flaw, it may put him in danger. If it were Spider-Man Peter Parker, what would he do? Miles turned his head quickly. He didn't retreat but moved in, punching and knocking down a Cherita soldier. Advertisement. Then quickly invisible, let the enemy lose his presence. When it reappeared, Miles defeated a few more enemies. That's it. Miles was delighted, and suddenly, a crisis came to his mind. Boom. An energy bullet shot at Miles. What do you think? The black figure appeared beside Miles. It was Eddie the Venom, and it grinned at Miles. Captain Steve brought Natasha Romanoff Agent, Lightning Spider-Man Miles, and Venom Eddie to barely control the ground battlefield. Whoosh. There was a harsh gunshot, and a large number of Cheritas emerged on the street in front. The leader was a burly Cheritas about 3 or 4 meters high. Everyone, are you ready? Steve looked at the crowd. We are going to give these aliens some color. Everyone is ready. The burly Cherita stopped 10 meters away from Steve's formation, and all the soldiers behind him stopped. Captain America, we meet again. The burly Cherita star looked at Steve. No, I should say, see you again, Captain America. The words of the Cherita star left Captain Steve Jonger-Monk puzzled. Boom boom boom. But when the burly Cherita star didn't give Steve too much thought, it rushed towards Steve with a stride, and blasted Steve's face with its fists. Boom. Cherita's attack was blocked by Steve's shield, and the former immediately pulled out the energy gun behind him and fired at Steve. Boom. Before the burly Cherita could shoot, Eddie, the Venom behind Steve, rushed forward and knocked the Cherita to the ground with a punch. Roar. Venom opened his blood basin and roared, rushing towards the Cherita star. ... Advertisement. Shield Helicourier. Commander Nick, the Council has made a decision. Connecting with Nick are members of the International Security Council. I know you will, and I know what stupid decisions you will make, so I should ignore it. Nick said. Commander, your battleship is the closest to the battlefield. Please order the fighter to immediately. That's Manhattan Island, Congressman. Before the congressman had finished speaking, Nick interrupted. Unless my team can't stop them, I will never order nuclear bombs to attack any civilians. Nick said angrily. If you can't stop them, everything is over. The member said. If a nuclear bomb is fired, it will be over. Nick closed the connection. ... Stark Building. Look, this is war. How brilliant the beautiful sparks are. This place will soon belong to me. I will be the king here. Loki's figure stood on the building, and he looked at the human beings who were struggling underneath. This feeling of manipulating everything pleased him. Yes, Lord Loki, this place will belong to you. And Tesseract, it will belong to us. A burly Cherita said behind Loki. But it doesn't make much sense to me to rule here. Loki murmured, I just enjoy the process.